Chapter 71, Returning from a Rewarding Journey. Lu Xiao's eyes were wide open as she stared at the dagger. I can't accept this, Sun Mo rejected hurriedly. This is too valuable. Sigh, what you've said is wrong. No matter how much money you have, you can't buy a pleasant mood. Through these few years of retirement, today is undoubtedly my happiest day. I have read a masterpiece and seen the birth of a famous painting. How satisfying. As Zheng Qingfeng spoke, he emptied another cup and started coughing. Old master, you've drunk too much. The old servant tried to advise him as he was worried about Zheng Qingfeng's health. Cough cough, it does no harm. Zheng Qingfeng indicated for the old servant to mind his own business. He had been a high-ranking official in the imperial court for so many years, so it was natural for him to have come across a few marveling sights of skillful painting. However, those few painters were old. After all, the skill of painting required valuable experience. But Sun Mo, how old was he? It was indeed too formidable for a 20-year-old man to have reached such a state. As for his novel, even though his literature was not as superior, the story was extremely well written. As Zheng Qingfen closed his eyes now, the arrogant and unyielding Monkey King, the determined and persistent Reverend Sanzang, the lecturer Sangridi Zubeiji, and a monk Shawan, with no sense of existence but was still recallable, all remained vivid in his mind. 2. Zheng Qingfen didn't dare to say that this novel was a masterpiece handed down from ancient times. However, in many years to come, there was no problem for it to become famous in Middle-earth 9 provinces. Zheng Qingfen presented the chasing cloud dagger to Sun Mo out of admiration for his talent. This was because this teenager whose smile was as bright as sunshine had extraordinary skills in writing and painting. Take it, I'm old anyway. I don't have a chance of riding a horse anymore. When Zheng Qingfen saw that Sun Mo declined, his expression became stiff. Stop rejecting it. Are you not treating me as a close friend? The old servant was speechless. Oh, old master, you can't ride a horse anymore, but your descendants still can, especially your grandson who has been eyeing after this dagger for a long time. Now that you have given it to Sun Mo, your grandson will surely find trouble for me. It's really too valuable. Sun Mo didn't know what to say. Teacher is so awesome. Seeing how Zheng Qingfen wanted to give such a precious spirit weapon to Sun Mo, Lu Xiao's entire heart was filled with admiration for her teacher. Ding. Favorable impression points from Lu Xiao plus 20. Prestige connection. Lu Xiao, friendly, 233 1/1000ths. Take it, if you're a man, then stop being wishy-washy. After Zheng Qingfen handed over the dagger to Sun Mo, he emptied another cup and started laughing uncontrollably. I have never expected to see the birth of a famous painting. Previously, I was still thinking if your painting was not too bad, then I would purchase one for 10 taels of silver. Ridiculous. How ridiculous. Zheng Qingfen thought that he was lucky he had not quoted a price. If not, it would have been too embarrassing. Lu Xiao and the old servant laughed as well. 10 taels of silver? Even if you multiplied it 100 times, it wasn't enough to purchase the painting of Sanzang's journey. What could Sun Mo say? He passed the dagger to Lu Xiao and could only maintain his humble smile. Seeing how Sun Mo had restrained his curiosity and didn't immediately start to admire the dagger, the old servant was impressed with Sun Mo once again. It was a common sight that when people saw a treasure of this specific tier, they would start to fiddle with it without hesitation. Zheng Qingfen was drinking his wine while looking at Sun Mo. The more he looked, the more admiration he had for him. Sun Mo was not only good-looking, but he was also brimming with talent. Oh yes, should he marry his granddaughter to him? Then he could always be the first person to see his future works. The food and wine turned cold, and Zheng Qingfen asked the servant to leave. He switched to another table and continued to drink with Sun Mo. He was really over the moon today. After drinking for a moment, Zheng Qingfen couldn't help but look a few times at the script of Journey to the West, again. Then, he got up to admire the painting of Sanzang. The portrait drawings of other characters were excellent as well. However, when compared to this piece, it was still somewhat inferior. I keep feeling like it's lacking something. Zheng Qingfen finally discovered the blind spot. Sun Mo was puzzled. On the contrary, Lu Xiao's small hand covered her mouth and reminded softly, it's your name inscription. Yes, its name inscription. How can a famous piece of painting not have a name inscription? Zheng Qingfeng suddenly came to a realization and quickly asked Sun Mo to amend it. Sun Mo was a little embarrassed. Quickly write it. If you don't sign your name, how will anyone know it's your work? Zheng Qingfeng urged him and suddenly responded, don't tell me you have never written a name inscription before? Hold on, could this be your first piece of creation? Sun Mo nodded. This is wonderful. Zheng Qingfeng was so excited he didn't use a wine cup anymore. He started pouring the wine into his mouth from the wine pot. Old master. The old servant jumped in shock. Zheng Qingfeng burst into loud laughter. If Sun Mo were to become famous in the future, then his first piece of work would have such a high commemoration value. Hence, he quickly warned him again. You must write down today's date and time. Sun Mo was indifferent. Also, if you wish to publish the book, you need a pseudonym usually. What do you intend to call yourself? Zheng Qingfeng indicated for Lu Xiaoyuo to eat more and not be too reserved. Goblin? Sun Mo had wanted to name himself Wu Chenjin to let people know who was the main author of Journey to the West. But he thought of how the book was written by him. Although the content was similar, the literature was different. Even the characters' impressions were somewhat edited by his own opinions. For example, Zubeiji was more annoying now and Xiaojing was a two-faced person. Hence, he gave up that thought. Go what? Hearing such a strange vocabulary, Zheng Qingfeng wasn't able to form any inherent image in his brain. Goblin, it's a type of monster. Sun Mo seemed to say it so carelessly, but he was actually trying to sound out Zheng Qingfeng. For a high-ranking official like him, he must have come across many situations. If even he wasn't aware, then it was clear that such a thing didn't exist. Have you conceptualized it already? Is it a monster that's going to appear in the second half of Journey to the West? Zheng Qingfeng was curious. No. Sun Mo was someone with a vigorous desire for knowledge. He had wanted to find out if there were other places outside of Middle-earth 9 provinces. For example, whether there were Western countries, or whether there were dragons, swords, or magic. As of now, they didn't seem to exist. Could it be for another book then? Zheng Qingfeng stared at Sun Mo with a burning gaze. He couldn't wait for it. I've decided. My pseudonym is Gandalf. Sun Mo changed the topic. There's no meaning to it, just a random name. This is up to you. Zheng Qingfeng usually slept very early because of health reasons, but he couldn't stop chatting with Sun Mo today until very late at night. It was very late into the night and the school gate was already shut. Since Zheng Qingfeng was being greatly hospitable, Sun Mo and Lu Xiaoyuo stayed for the night in the guest room. The next morning, Zheng Qingfeng woke up early to have breakfast with Sun Mo despite still having a headache from the hangover. Then, he saw him off. Old master, he isn't even a great teacher. He merely wrote an interesting novel and has pretty good painting skills. Must you be so nice to him? The old servant couldn't understand why the old master had presented the chasing cloud dagger as a gift to Sun Mo. To be able to hold my position in the imperial court for 47 years straight. It was all because I can spot talents with my eyes. That Sun Mo, he has the kind of temperament I can't describe. Zheng Qingfeng stood at the gate of the bookstore and gazed at the silhouette of the horse carriage in the distance. Temperament? I admit that he's quite good looking. The old servant didn't discover any impressive temperament. You won't understand. Zheng Qingfeng didn't want to continue explaining. For Sun Mo to be able to draw like that, it was certain that he had endless knowledge in his mind. The concept of that painting was impossible to be feigned. The next time Sun Mo comes, you must receive him as an important guest, Zheng Qingfeng instructed. After alighting from the horse carriage, Sun Mo paid for the ride and strolled in proudly. Lu Xiaoyuo carried a little wooden chest filled with 1,000 taels of silver and followed behind Sun Mo like a little tail. Her gaze, filled with worship, looked toward Sun Mo from time to time. Teacher Sun was so awesome. Just by writing a novel, he had earned 1,000 taels of silver. Additionally, there was a sum of author's remuneration awaiting. Not only that, but he also had excellent painting skills. She could never have expected that Teacher Sun was a painter capable of creating a famous painting of such standards. Those illustrations from yesterday were extremely godlike. I wish Teacher Sun would draw a portrait of me someday. Lu Xiaoyu pouted her lips and then she hurriedly touched the chasing cloud dagger that was tucked in her embrace. Fortunately, she didn't lose it. This was a spirit weapon. If it went missing, Lu Xiaoyu might have to commit suicide in order to apologize for her offense. Recalling how Zheng Qingfeng had given out such a precious gift, Lu Xiaoyu still thought that it was unbelievable. If it were her, she wouldn't have given it out and would have left it for her own family instead. Die-hard fans are so terrifying, Lu Xiaoyu sighed. But Teacher Sun, who can conquer his die-hard fans, is even more terrifying. Ding. Favorable impression points from Lu Xiaoyu plus 10. Prestige connection with Lu Xiaoyu, friendly, 243 1/1000ths. Hearing the notification sound, Sun Mo couldn't help but turn around. I know your breasts are big, but you are not a milk cow. Must you contribute favorable impression points so frequently, huh? The papaya girl's eyes bent slightly, and she immediately let out a sweet smile. She carried the little wooden chest with one hand and grabbed Sun Mo's corner hem with the other. Seeing Sun Mo, Mr. Qin, who had been guarding the gatehouse, walked over immediately to greet him. Teacher Sun, good morning. Hello, Mr. Qin. Sun Mo nodded and handed over a packet of leaf tobacco. I bought this in the morning while passing by the street market. Teacher Sun, you are flattering me. I don't deserve it. Mr. Qin promptly gestured his hands without receiving the packet. As a guard, he had seen many people and heard a lot of gossip. Hence, Mr. Qin already knew that Sun Mo had recruited 5 students. In fact, he had received the acknowledgement from the school's leaders. As for his official employment, it would likely be happening over these few days. When facing intern teachers, Mr. Qin could still maintain some sense of superiority. After all, out of 10 intern teachers, 9 of them wouldn't be able to stay in the academy. However, he couldn't treat an official teacher that way. There was a very big difference between the status of a gatekeeper and a teacher. If not for Sun Mo's promotion, Mr. Qin would never have put on his smiling face and taken the initiative to greet him. He wouldn't even have walked out from the gatehouse. Just take it. I don't know how to smoke tobacco with a pipe. It'd be a waste to keep it with me. How much money could a packet of tobacco cost? Even if Sun Mo didn't earn a big sum of money from his author's remuneration, he was still able to afford it. He was giving something to Mr. Qin merely for the convenience of going in and out of the school gate in the future. Just in case he needed to return in the middle of the night next time, it would be easy for him to talk his way through the guarded entrance. Seeing how Sun Mo had indeed bought the tobacco for him, Mr. Qin hurriedly rubbed both his hands against his trousers. After wiping off the sweat and dust, he bent over slightly and extended both hands to receive it. Sun Mo noticed the difference in Mr. Qin's behavior. Last time, when he had given him the tobacco, Mr. Qin had only received it with one hand. From these little movements, he could infer that Mr. Qin had found out about his promotion. Teacher Sun, take care. Mr. Qin waited until Sun Mo had walked off for about 20 meters before he returned to the gatehouse. After he kept the tobacco, he couldn't help but sigh with sorrow. Look at that heck of this guy. He indeed knows how to behave, so it's no wonder that he is able to live off headmaster. And Sun Mo put his stuff in place and went to the library to prepare for his lessons materials. But not long after that, a young woman came to look for him. 1. Referring to Xiao Yujing. 2. Characters from Journey to the West, Chapter 72, Imperious Manifesto. Sun Mo, Headmaster and wants to see you. Zilin was wearing a long robe that was so aligned that there wasn't a single crease on it. Standing next to the desk, she was speaking with an ice-cold tone, cold enough to freeze a herd of hibernating rabbits to death. You are? Sun Mo frowned. Her attitude was not only cold, it was as if she had seen a rat that had been stealing her household's rice. Zilin, Headmaster An's female assistant. Zilin urged, come on. Don't let Headmaster An wait for long. Sun Mo packed his stuff and followed behind Zilin. Under normal circumstances, one would try to maintain a good relationship with the female assistant of the headmaster, as it would aid the development of one's career. However, Zilin was so cold in her mannerisms that Sun Mo didn't want to be met with a cold rebuke after showing warm feelings. Of course, Sun Mo didn't care about maintaining a good relationship with An Xin Hui either. He was depending on his talent to make a living. Actually, according to his looks, it would be feasible to make a living out of his appearance too. Both persons didn't speak a word. Hence, on the way there, the awkward atmosphere didn't disperse. Zilin was obviously unhappy with Sun Mo because of his status as Xin Huai's fiancé. Zilin was Xin Huai's junior, and she worshipped her so much. In Zilin's eyes, all terrible men in the world were not fit to be with the perfect eldest miss. As for Sun Mo, Zilin had naturally held prejudices against him without actual facts of how he was as a person, hence, she didn't want to find out more about him. She only wished Sun Mo would quickly rescind the engagement and get out of the school. Sun Mo fixed his eyes on Zilin, who was 5 meters ahead of him, and activated his divine sight. Zilin, female assistant, 21 years old. Blood ignition realm. Strength, 22. Even though it isn't great, it is sufficient to hit a man's head till it explodes. Intellect, 25. Her learning ability is very strong and her theoretical knowledge is solid. She has a developed memory and is a great material for an assistant. Agility, 27. Running errands is her special strength. Endurance, 26. She once worked for 5 days straight without taking a rest. Will, 28. She is bigoted and self-centered. Once she has set her mind on something, she will be firm till the end and will never change her opinions easily. Potential value, above average. Remark, she has peculiar feelings toward Xin Huai and views men as extreme enemies. Sun Mo pouted. This data was very outstanding, except for her will that was intimidating at first glance. It was better not to marry such a woman, otherwise, there would be no peace at home in the future. He read on further. Her potential value was great. But what the hell was wrong with this remark? Sun Mo had a dumbfounded expression. He was looking at Zilin while being utterly astonished. Was this grim-looking girl a lesbian? Sun Mo suddenly understood why Zilin was so hostile toward him. Oh fuck, after analyzing for so long, is she treating me as her love rival? All of a sudden, Zilin turned her head around, looking at Sun Mo. And like a reflex, Sun Mo shifted his gaze away. Zilin stared at Sun Mo in suspicion and snorted, knowing that there was nothing good about men. She felt so uncomfortable, as though a man had peeled off her clothes and was appreciating her naked body. This thought made her twist her body uncontrollably. Sun Mo must have been admiring her figure from behind. How disgusting. Zilin bit her lips and quickened her footsteps. On the contrary, Sun Mo slowed down his pace. Facing a person with paranoia, he knew he had better remain at a respectful distance and should never come into contact with them. Otherwise, any of his unconcerned little movements might provoke that person and trigger a Margia Style 1 murder case. If that happened, he could only blame his bad luck. They arrived at the headmaster office and coincidentally bumped into Gixyuk-sun, who was leaving. Teacher Gu. Zilin took the initiative to greet Gixyuk-sun. A smile blossomed on her face. Actually, when this girl smiled, she was still considered good-looking. Similar to her potential value, it could be rated at 7 points. If she was placed at number 2 high school, there would easily be more than 10 guys trying to seek her attention even if she hadn't done anything to attract them. Assistant Zhu. After Gixyuk-sun greeted them, she waved her hand while facing Sun Mo. Teacher Sun, we're colleagues from now onward. Please remember to look after me. Teacher Gu must be joking. I should be the one being looked after by you. Sun Mo laughed gently. After all, he had been a teacher in charge for 6 years and had equipped himself with some socializing abilities. Hee. I thought Teacher Sun will be going for an aloof teaching style. Gixyuk-sun made fun of him. Then what style is Teacher Gu going for? Sun Mo thought to himself that he must be on alert even if Gixyuk-sun was smiling at him like a flower. He had previously heard from a close friend that if a woman were to smile dazzlingly at you despite not loving you, then you had better be careful. She must be trying to lure you into a trap. This was his conclusion after having attended 17 matchmaking sessions from an online dating website. Teacher Sun's words are a bit overbearing, but that's normal. You've just recruited Xuan Yunpo and Li Ziki. It's the best time to be proud of your success. Gixyuk-sun sighed, revealing a look of unwillingness on her face. Sun Mo's keen observation detected how Zilin, who was standing at the side, frowned after hearing these two names. She then glanced at Sun Mo and the loathing on her face disappeared instantly. How cunning is this masochist? Was she trying to incite Zilin's unhappiness toward me? Would she talk bad about me in front of Xin Huai and create obstacles for me? Sun Mo was still smiling but had marked Gixuxun down in his mental booklet. Once there was an opportunity, he must let this masochist lick her own toes. If it wasn't for his experience, Sun Mo would have thought that Gixuxun was trying to praise him. This was what office politics was. If you weren't paying attention, you would never know when you would be plotted against. If you still have things to say, let's leave it until next time. Headmaster is still waiting, Zilin interrupted. Then let's drink tea together one day. Gixuxun waved her hands and left. On the surface, her attitude remained friendly. If it were other men, they might have thought that Gixuxun was interested in them. In that instant, they might have already planned for their children's names. Ding! Mission announcement. Please defeat Gixuxun thoroughly in terms of teaching abilities within a year. You have to do it until she accepts her loss wholeheartedly. Your prize will be a silver treasure chest. Remark: if Gixuxun is so impressed to the extent that she licks your toes, the system shall give you an additional reward of one mysterious treasure chest. Sun Mo, who was just entering the door, got stunned. What the hell was this? He could understand the mission, as after all, it was an absolute great teacher system. In the process of cultivating a great teacher, it was a common sight for the hosts to defeat other teachers. However, what was that remark all about? It is what it is. If Gixuxun willingly licks your toes, then it shows that she has accepted the fact that your teaching abilities are better. The system will naturally have to throw in additional rewards. The system explained. Are you a sadist? Sun Mo inquired. Make a guess. Sometimes, the system had a very evil taste. Oh yes, to encourage you, there will be a penalty as well. If you fail, you have to lick a big, burly man's sweaty feet that have been enclosed in sports shoes for a whole day. Can you be more unscrupulous than this? In Sun Mo's heart, he was cursing the system's mom with vulgarities. I don't want such a great reward. Can you just recall the penalty? The system was silent and stopped entertaining Sun Mo. Sun Mo. In the office, Xin Huai's voice came through. Sun Mo could only suppress his anger and walked in. The office was huge but was furnished very simply. Other than a bookshelf that was filled with books, there were 2 rows of display cabinets. They were filled with all kinds of important trophies earned by Central Province Academy from the establishment day until now. There were a total of 62 trophies. These were all selected very carefully. Otherwise, there wouldn't be enough space to display everything. In fact, before they were on the decline, it wasn't exaggerating to say that Central Province Academy was covered in glory. Seeing how Sun Mo's gaze landed on those trophies, Xin Huai revealed expressions of self-blame and self-mockery. Those were all in the past. For the last 20 years, the school has not received any important trophy. There will be more in the future. Sun Mo comforted her. On the first day when the intern teachers reported to the school, they had all been taken to the honor hall of the academy to take a look. The hall was filled with trophies, certificates, as well as banners. This was the reason why, even though Central Province Academy had dropped to the bottom of D-grade schools and was about to be delisted, many students still came to register every year. Xin Huai stood up and extended her hand. As the headmaster, I hope that you can put your talents into good use in this school. Please cultivate a few elite students and bring back 1 or 2 trophies for the school. Ha ha ha, you must have said the same words to the others, right? Sun Mo asked while laughing. Zilin felt unhappy. Who did he think he was? Did he deserve any special treatment from Headmaster? Yes, I have said it many times over the last 3 years. But every time I say it, it's from the bottom of my heart. Xin Huai looked straight into Sun Mo's eyes with a sincere gaze. Looking at this woman with sunken cheeks, Sun Mo knew that she had been overworking herself. Thus, Sun Mo grabbed her hand and said, I'm employed here not because of you nor the school. A lot of people are saying that I am living off a woman, and I just want to prove them wrong. Sun Mo. After hearing this reply, Zilin was immediately filled with anger and berated him. Xin Huai raised her hand, indicating Zilin to shut her mouth. Her gaze was still fixed on Sun Mo. but without any fluctuation of emotion. In her inner heart, she could feel an additional sense of surprise. The little Momo, who had been tailing behind her butt during their childhood, had now become so masculine. "Where's the pen? I'll sign it." Sun Mo had already seen an official employment letter on the work desk with his name on it. Suddenly, the atmosphere became silent. Only the sounds of a pen scribbling against paper could be heard in the office. Even though the system had announced a mission that within 1 year, he should help Central Province Academy achieve top 5 in the D-grade league tournament, Sun Mo wasn't interested in it at all. The reason why Sun Mo stayed here was just as he had explained, to prove himself. Leaving dejectedly after receiving contempt and hostility from people, that was impossible for Sun Mo. He would wave his fists and punch his opponents so ferociously until all their teeth dropped. Sun Mo planned to guide a few top students in the school and become the most formidable and well-known great teacher. He wanted to shut all those annoying people up. Xin Hui looked at Sun Mo's pretty face. For the first time, her slightly furrowed brows smoothened out and she had a smile on her face. She was full of admiration for Sun Mo, who had such a mentality. If their situation was better, she wouldn't even hesitate to marry him. Sigh, "Grandfather, what a tough problem you have given me." Xin Hui sighed with a myriad of sorrows. Ding. Favorable impression points from Xin Hui +5. Prestige connection with Xin Hui, neutral. 15/100ths. Sun Mo didn't take note of Xin Hui's expression because just as he signed his name on the letter of employment, the system's notification rang. Ding. "Congratulations, you have completed the mission. Within half a month, you have risen from a teaching assistant to become an official teacher. Your prize is a silver treasure chest." 1. A Notorious Murder Case, Chapter 73. Entering official employment. A treasure chest that was flashing with silvery light dropped down right before him. Sun Mo wanted to open it up immediately, but considering how there'd be a high chance of him wasting this treasure chest given his unlucky physique, he could only suppress the urge. He'd better open it after patting the papaya girl to increase his luck. Here are 2 sets of teacher attire. If they are torn, you can go to the logistics department to get new ones. Xin Hui handed a stack of folded clothes to Sun Mo. The sky blue material didn't look extravagant, but it had a special meaning. Moreover, the school emblem on the left side of his chest represented the Central Province Academy's recognition of his status as a teacher. Right now, the Central Province Academy was in decline and the teacher's reputation also dropped a little. More than 10 years ago, the Central Province Academy's teachers would be able to get their bills waived when they went out to eat or to buy things while wearing their uniforms. Of course, the teachers weren't short of this bit of money. It was just that this was a representation of their status and identity. It showed that they were respected and adored. "How's the salary?" Sun Mo recalled his pathetic salary back in number 2 high school. He wasn't even able to afford the down payment for a house. That was why he hadn't managed to get a girlfriend until now. He had no choice. Without a house, who'd want to be in a relationship with him? Xin Hui didn't expect that Sun Mo would ask this so blatantly, and she was a little stunned. Zilin, who was at the side, had her eyes and mouth wide open. "You are a teacher and should have your priorities on teaching and nurturing. You should be shy when talking about money. How can you take the initiative to ask about your salary? You were still saying earlier that you were going to prove yourself. How come you've become so mercenary now?" If it wasn't because Xin Hui had glared at her, Zilin would have wanted to speak sarcastically toward him. 100 tals per month. Xin Hui replied, "Are there any other benefits?" Sun Mo was very satisfied. To a teacher who was just converted into a permanent position, this salary wasn't considered low. An ordinary family of 3 would only spend over 100 tals in a year. Food in the canteen and the residence is free. Moreover, there were the heat stroke prevention fee and warmth fee in summer and winter, as well as the gifts every festive. All of these add up to a lot of money. Zilin spoke up quickly, her tone filled with a sense of superiority. It was because she was very proud of this. After all, Their school's benefits weren't bad compared to the Zhongzhou Academy. It seems that a lean camel is still bigger than a horse. The Central Province Academy doesn't seem to be as dilapidated and poor as the rumors make it out to be. Sun Mo immediately retorted. Zilin was so angry that she wanted to spew out blood. Could they have an enjoyable talk? Even if I have to have it hard, the teacher's benefits won't be reduced. Xin Huai explained. This was how she had been doing this. Over the past 2 years, the Central Province Academy's funds had been reaching its end, but she had never reduced all these expenses. The scholarships were also given out as usual. It was because some poor students had to rely on scholarships to be able to continue their studies. Sun Mo looked at Xin Huai, not knowing what to say. Although her moon-white long robe had been washed cleanly, it was apparent that she had been wearing it for a few years based on a degree it was wearing out. To a 3-star great teacher, such clothes were too shabby. Is that so? Then I'll rest at ease and eat braised meat every meal. It's free anyway. After saying that, Sun Mo patted his clothes. Is there anything else? If not, then I'll be leaving. That's all. Xin Huai instructed. Zilin, bring Sun Mo to take a look at the office and to familiarize with the other teachers. Let's go. Zilin had a strong urge to strangle Sun Mo to death. Eat meat for every meal. Eldest Miss hadn't eaten any meat for very long. The meals she had every day were all very simple. After Sun Mo left, Xin Huai had just sat down when she heard his voice ringing out from outside. Which date is the salary paid out? There won't be any delays, right? If I bring students to the canteen for meals, can their meals be waived? No? Then what about half price? The free food can't be of a limited quantity, right? Sun Mo's voice was very pleasant, sounding warm as if sunlight was shining down on one's body, giving off a sense of security. However, the things he was saying now were deserving of a beating. Xin Huai could imagine how angry Zilin would be. I didn't expect that Sun Mo would change so much after a few years. He has such a sharp tongue now. Xin Huai couldn't help but smile. Even the fatigue she had been feeling over the past few days had suddenly lightened by a lot. She recalled the scene she saw the other day where the 4-star great teacher Rongbo was trying to fight for Sun Mo. It seems that you're something, to be able to recruit 5 students. Will you let me see you in a different light one more time? Xin Huai mumbled, then went back to her work. There were only 6 months left. The Central Province Academy's situation was very bad and they couldn't afford to lose any more. If they still didn't manage to get a good ranking in this year's league tournament, they'd be removed from their title as a famous school. If that were to happen, they wouldn't be able to get back up again. The Central Province Academy hoped that the teachers could have exchanges and learn from each other, helping each other to improve. Therefore, they had a big office concept. Within an office, there'd be great teachers of different levels, ranging from 2-star great teachers to newly employed teachers. Of course, great teachers who were 3-star or above wouldn't be included. All of them had their own private offices. It's over here. The table on the left is yours. If you have any problems, you can ask the other teachers. After saying that, Zilin quickly left. She was afraid that if she continued to stay here, she wouldn't be able to hold back and want to beat up Sun Mo. This guy's tongue was too sharp. The teachers knew that there'd be a new guy joining today. So when they heard sounds, they couldn't help but look up. At the instant Sun Mo entered, he revealed his 8 teeth and switched to his amicable mode, greeting everyone. Hello teachers. Please give me your guidance. Sun Mo had used a ruler to measure how many teeth would be shown according to the degree. He smiled. He continued to practice every day for a few years when he brushed his teeth every morning and night. There were a total of 10 desks in the office, with them being grouped in sets of 2. Therefore, the teachers were all seated in a way where every 2 of them would be facing each other. Sun Mo immediately saw Lianzheng, who had a rough face. The 2 of them had a quarrel before over Jiangleng, so their relationship was a little sour. Lianzheng was looking straight at Sun Mo with a headstrong disposition. Other than him, there were 6 other teachers present. An old man and a woman with short hair nodded at him. The other 4 teachers either threw a glance at him and went back to their work or were expressionless. The workforce isn't easy, Sun Mo exclaimed in his heart. But getting him to lower his stance and currying up to others just to improve his relationship with other colleagues, that was impossible. Therefore, He walked straight to his desk after greeting them. I thought that teacher Gu would be the one assigned here. Jiang Yongnian stroked his chin, looking disappointed. Although he didn't harbor any thoughts toward Gixuk-san, one's mood would be better to be able to work alongside a beautiful colleague. When a young man who was in his 20s and had a light birthmark on the corner of his forehead heard this, his expression became a lot more displeased when he looked at Sun Mo. "You are?" The white-haired old man took the initiative to ask Sun Mo. Sun Mo replied. The old man's smile suddenly stiffened up and he looked around. It was easy to tell what his expression was saying. Did I hear wrongly? Or were the school's leaders mistaken? Sun Mo, isn't he the one who sponges off a woman? Teacher Pan, you've gone back home to see your grandson during the past few days, so you might not be aware of this. There were only 4 intern teachers who had managed to recruit 5 students this time around. Zushani smiled and replied, making it very clear that Sun Mo had passed the test. 4? Pan Yi counted with his fingers. That isn't right. I remember that other than Gixuk-san, whom headmaster and had headhunted from the Zhongzhou Academy, there are 3 other graduates from the 9 grades, right? Pan Yi then turned to take a glance at Sun Mo. There was no way this guy was able to get into the 9 grades. Qin Fen quit. Jiang Yongnian had always been up to date with the latest news. Huh? Why? I remember that he had been headhunted by headmaster and personally. Were there any accidents? Pan Yi was very surprised. There were 3 factions in the school, led by the 2 vice headmasters, Zhang Hanfu and Wang Su, as well as the headmaster and Xin Huai. And Xin Huai's faction was the weakest amongst the 3. That was why she had gone out personally to headhunt people, wanting to increase her faction's forces. He didn't expect that Qin Fen had quitted. He lost in a competition and was too ashamed to stay on. Jiang Yongnian was a talkative person. Who did he lose to? Pan Yi was very curious. It was normal for there to be contradictions between teachers. So what could they do? They could just compete and not scold each other like shrews. That'd be lacking class. What the teachers loved to do the most was to crush their opponents with their strength. There. The person is right in front of you, Jiang Yongnian teased. Pan Yi looked toward Sun Mo and couldn't help but cry out, huh? Is that for real? To speak the truth, his words were a little rude. However, Pan Yi was a 1-star great teacher, so there was no way that he'd care about what a newly employed teacher would think. Sun Mo had just found out that Qin Fen had quitted and was a little surprised. The lips of Yi Jiamin, who had a faint birthmark on his forehead, twitched when he heard this. Such trashy achievements were worth boasting about. Sun Mo, your seat is over here. The short-haired woman who was in her 30s smiled and called out to Sun Mo. If there's anything you don't know or aren't sure of, you can ask me. Thank you, sister. Sun Mo had just wanted to ask for her name when the short-haired woman said it. I'm called Xia Yuan. You can call me Sister Sire or Teacher Sire. Either is fine. Xia Yuan had a friendly attitude. Sister Xia. In such times, this address was a lot more cordial. Sun Mo had just come to this place and didn't know about the complicated relationship between the different factions in the school. However, by the looks of it, Xia Yuan should belong to An Xin Huai's faction. Sun Mo's guess was right. An Xin Huai had specially picked out an office for him where the colleagues had a pretty amicable relationship. Also, she had instructed Xia Yuan to help him out more. After staying in the office for 10 or more minutes and familiarizing himself with the environment, Sun Mo left. It wasn't a pleasant first meeting with his colleagues, but Sun Mo didn't mind that. This place was Middle-earth's 9 provinces. If the teachers wished to get other people's respect, what they relied on was how many great teacher halos they grasped, their own level, as well as how many students under them were able to get onto the Green Cloud rankings. If ordinary teachers were unable to pass the St. Gates Great Teacher Test and get stars, they wouldn't get recognition and respect from other teachers with stars even if they were able to do wonders with their teachings. You don't seem to be angry even though you've been treated so coldly. The system was surprised. Respect is earned through one's capabilities and not begged for. Don't worry, I'll let them see me in a different light sooner or later. Sun Mo's mind was on that silver treasure chest, and thus he went to look for Luxiao to increase his luck. He wondered what good item he'd be able to get. Chapter 74, Secondary Occupation Obtained. Luxiao was cowardly and would always try to avoid contact with others. Therefore, the places where she'd go were very limited. Other than the dorm, canteen, and library, places where she could be alone by herself, there was only the warehouse. Li Gong's small space had become Luxiao's private base that she used for training and meditation. When Sun Mo came, she saw the papaya girl practicing her sword here. She was panting and her clothes were completely soaked. However, she still didn't show any intention of stopping. Sun Mo nodded. Although Luxiao's potential value was very low, her hard work and attitude were commendable. Teacher Sun. Luxiao immediately stopped when she saw Sun Mo, and she came running over. Her big and beautiful eyes curved into two crescents. How are you getting along with your dorm mates? Sun Mo handed her a candy. After Luxiao took it, he rubbed her head. It's alright. Luxiao took off the wrapper but didn't eat the candy. Instead, she fed it to Sun Mo. You eat. I don't like sweet things. Sun Mo said to her and thought the word open. The silver treasure chest appeared before him and released a brilliant glow. After the light dissipated, what was left behind was a book that was shrouded in a faint golden glow. Skill book. Sun Mo was elated and wanted to cry out, my prided papaya girl's luck is really the best in the world. To think that patting her head can bring another skill book. Ding. Congratulations. You've obtained Spirit Gathering Rune Depiction Technique, Grandmaster Grade. The system's congratulation rang out. Ha ha. Sun Mo broke out laughing. It was another Grandmaster Grade skill. This was excellent. Luxiao sneaked looks at Sun Mo. What's the matter with Teacher Sun? Why is he smiling so happily? Did he pick up money again? No, Teacher isn't such a low-class person. Even if he were to pick up money, he'd return it to the owner. Although it's not a bad thing to be hardworking, you must have enough rest as well. Don't overwork yourself. Sun Mo instructed her and then went to the library to get some information. Although the owner of this body had some knowledge about spirit rune words, they were insufficient. He needed more detailed information. The Central Province Academy's learning atmosphere wasn't bad. There were almost no empty seats regardless of what time one headed to the library. Therefore, all the students just picked the book of their choice and sat on the ground, leaning against the bookshelves as they read. Sun Mo found the books of spirit runes and started to read from the foundational ones. Spirit runes were diagrams that were drawn out using unique ink that contained spirit chi. After they were activated, they would produce all sorts of different effects. For example, the Spirit Gathering Rune was a diagram that could gather spirit chi. After the diagram was activated, the surrounding spirit chi would be sucked into it. Sun Mo flipped through the books for a while and understood. Spirit runes were like magic scrolls in the magic-themed games and movies. After activation, the magic that was on the scrolls would be released. It was like how after a fireball scroll was activated, one could release a big ball of fire. The ink used to draw spirit runes must contain spirit chi. Therefore, people often used fresh blood or ground bone powder from ferocious beasts, medicinal herbs, ores, and other things that had spirit chi in it. In Middle-earth's 9 provinces, the teachers must grasp one or many secondary occupations in order to become great teachers with stars. This was the requirement set by the Saint Gate. Alchemists, weaponsmiths, beast tamers, herbalists, spirit rune masters, and doctors were all relatively popular secondary occupations. Why did the teachers flock toward them? It was because not only would they be able to show off, but the demand for these occupations were also high, and most importantly, they'd be able to earn money. Out of all of them, alchemy and weaponsmithing were the most popular. Even cultivators who weren't great teachers would study these two areas. It was because alchemical pills and weapons were things that would accompany a cultivator for life. Alchemical pills could help one advance levels, heal injuries, replenish spirit chi, and many others. If one could refine these themselves, even if the pills couldn't be sold and were left for themselves, it'd at least be cheaper than to buy them from elsewhere. As for weapons, if one could forge a spirit weapon or even saint weapon, they'd strike it rich. The owner of this body had previously chosen alchemy as his secondary occupation, and he was only at the elementary grade. Other people would probably despise him even if he were to work as an apprentice. Spirit rune masters weren't as popular as alchemists and weaponsmiths. However, they weren't bad either. Sun Mo continued to read books to have a better understanding of spirit rune words. 3 hours later, the system felt displeased. Are you going to learn it or not? To the system, this was a humiliation. I must emphasize that no skills given by the system are trash. You should be appreciative. Sun Mo ignored the system's nagging. Seeing that there wasn't anyone nearby, he took out the Grandmaster Grade Spirit Gathering Rune Depiction Technique and shattered it with a slap from his palm. The skill book shattered into golden light spots like fireflies and then shot toward Sun Mo's forehead. Nothing was left behind. A massive amount of knowledge instantly gushed into Sun Mo, causing him some headache. He recalled the scene from his younger days in the countryside where the heartless traders would take a water pump and pumped in water into living pigs. However, this process wasn't long. About 10 or more seconds, that knowledge was digested, and all sorts of professional jargon and concepts flashed past in his mind. Sun Mo didn't need to think and naturally knew what they were talking about. It was like looking at a question asking what 1 + 1 was. He'd be able to write down the answer to without any hesitation. It was because it was too simple that it had become instinctive. Sun Mo thought about all the information about the spirit gathering rune depiction technique, and his expression turned into that of a pleasant surprise. He couldn't help but praise. System, this is really amazing. The spirit gathering rune was the most basic, common, and practical spirit runes in spirit rune words. It could be said that if a cultivator were to purchase spirit runes, then the first thing they'd buy would be the spirit gathering rune. True to its name, the spirit gathering rune gathered spirit chi. Cultivations required spirit chi for their meditation, training, and attempts to break through levels. It could be said that spirit chi was the core of all cultivators in Middle-earth's 9 provinces. Cultivating was the process of absorbing spirit chi. If the spirit density around one was high, then things would naturally progress very easily. HMPH. Of course, I'm the best. The system was very proud. Then how amazing is my depiction technique? Sun Mo wasn't done with his questions, so he allowed the system to be proud for a while. Ranked 3rd in Central Province Academy, 7th in Jinling City, and 26th in the entire Central Province, the system replied. It isn't even top in the school, yet you dare say that you're the best? Sun Mo teased. He was actually very pleased. That's scrap. You have just obtained the spirit gathering rune depiction technique, yet you're still not satisfied with this ranking. Those who are ranked in front of you specialize in spirit rune words. Which of them hadn't spent over 10, 20 years, or even half of their lifetime on this subject? What are you using to compare against them? Sun Mo had long since guessed this possibility, but he still couldn't help but want to ask. What if we put an age limit, let's say, amongst those 30 years old and below? What rank would my depiction technique be at? Sun Mo was 20 years old this year and his expectations weren't high. He just wanted to be no better than people who were 10 years older than him. Ranked 1st in Central Province Academy, 2nd in Jinling City, and 5th across the entire Central Province. The system replied without hiding anything. Only 2nd in Jinling City? Sun Mo smacked his lips. Be content. You haven't even drawn a single spirit rune yet. If the system had eyes, it would really want to roll its eyes 100 times. How do I raise my ranking? Sun Mo was displeased. He wanted to be number 1. At least in Jinling City. Practice makes perfect. The system's reply was with the most pristine principle. It seems that I'll have to work hard for a while. In order to become a 1-star great teacher, he would need to be proficient in a secondary occupation. Given the original owner's pathetic alchemy standard, Sun Mo would have to spend a lot of time in order to become proficient in it. However, things were different from spirit rune words. Sun Mo had already grasped the Grandmaster Grade Spirit Gathering Rune. This in itself would become a valuable experience. Ordinary people would have to spend at least 10 years in order to reach this level. Therefore, Sun Mo could be considered to be at the elementary grade in spirit runes. He just needed to work a little harder and the learning would progress steadily. Of course, other than that, It was also very tempting to use the spirit gathering rune to earn money. Sun Mo had a high level of mastery in painting. The art pieces he came up with were definitely of great quality. However, what was the use of that? In any era, only a minority would be able to admire these art pieces and were willing to spend money to collect them. Moreover, many artists tended to be poor while they were still alive, and their art pieces would only be treated as antiques, with their prices hiking up a few hundred years after the artist's death. But what would that have anything to do with the artist themselves? The spirit gathering rune was better. He could sell them for money after drawing them. Alright, I don't have any more questions. System dismissed. Sun Mo started humming as if he could already see a lot of money with wings flying into his pockets. He believed that it wouldn't be long before he could provide for Lu Xiaoyuo. Moreover, he could add 2 more eggs for breakfast every morning, eating one and throwing the other one. Ding! Mission released. Please complete 1000 spirit runes within a month. The reward will be 1 black iron treasure chest. If the mission fails, the grade of the skill will drop. To hell with you. Sun Mo cursed. Did the system have to be so narrow-minded? Could they still be friends and get along happily? If he wasn't able to complete the mission and the depiction technique dropped directly to the elementary grade, then wouldn't he cry to his death? Although he had received the punishing mission, Sun Mo didn't have the time to draw the spirit runes. It was because it was about time for the first public lecture. He needs to make preparations and get a great start for his first job. Sun Mo knew that given his identity as An Xinhuai's fiancé, many people would be biased against him, not liking him. The first part of the public lecture had a Q&A segment. There'd definitely be many people trying to make things difficult for him then. They'd want to deal him blows until he scrammed out of the school. HMPH, I'll definitely not let things go the way you guys want it to, Sun Mo said firmly. Back in number 2 high school, he had the nickname Black Doggy Sun. If he was serious in wanting to shoot at a person, he'd be like a wild dog that had broken off from its leash. Even he'd be afraid of himself. Chapter 75. First public lecture. In the vice headmaster's office. How are the preparations? Zhang Hanfu was drinking tea while casually flipping through a document. After tomorrow's public lecture, I guarantee that Sun Mo's teaching life in Central Province Academy will reach its end. Feng Ziyuan's lips curled up. Although Zhang Hanfu didn't point out a specific name, he knew that the reason the vice headmaster had called him here was over this matter. However, vice headmaster, weren't you being too insistent on revenge? Very good. Zhang Hanfu nodded. Aren't you stopping too long at being a 1-star great teacher? If you don't rise up by another star level, it'd be awkward for me to give you a promotion. His words weren't absolute in the Central Province Academy yet. With An Xinhuai and Wang Su around, he was really restricted when doing things. Sigh, when would he be able to kick them away? At the thought of this, Zhang Hanfu felt displeased. Therefore, he had an even stronger urge to get rid of that Sun Mo, who dared to challenge him. He wanted to let the other teachers know how horrible a plight they would have if they were to offend him. Knock knock. The sound of door knocks rang out and Gao Ben walked in. I'll take my leave then. Feng Ziyuan took this opportunity to get up and left. Sit. Zhang Hanfu was polite toward this teacher whom he had personally recruited. He wore a smile on his face and instructed his female assistant to quickly serve tea. Why were you looking for me? Gao Ben had his arrogance. It was because he felt that capability was equivalent to confidence, and thus he didn't feel restricted or uneasy at all. He also didn't smile or try to curry up to Zhang Hanfu. I hope that your first public lecture can be arranged at 9 a.m. the day after tomorrow. Zhang Hanfu frowned. To deal with Sun Mo, Gao Ben was spot on. It was because the school had already put up the announcement for Sun Mo's first public lecture. As Sun Mo was An Xinhuai's fiancé, he had a great reputation and the news spread very quickly. At the very least, all the teachers knew about it and there were even quite a number of them who planned on forming groups and attending his lecture. Deal with Sun Mo. Does he deserve to be your opponent? Zhang Hanfu asked him back. Ha ha. Gao Ben burst out laughing and took a sip of tea. Then what do you think? Zhang Hanfu asked, grinning. This old guy is threatening me again. Gao Ben cursed in his heart. However, he knew that relying on his backing meant that he wouldn't be able to go against his orders. Therefore, he nodded. In fact, Gao Ben had wanted to arrange his first public lecture to be at the same time as Gixuxun's. He would then use the bursting number of attendees for his class to prove that he was superior to her. The number of participants in one's public lecture was also an indicator in between the teachers' competition. If all of their public lectures were full, then they'd be the school's primary force and would be nurtured carefully. Very good. You must let the lecture theater that can accommodate 300 people be full. Zhang Hanfu smiled. 3 days passed by very quickly, like fine sand that slipped through one's fingers. When the morning light shone down into the dorm, Sun Mo got up. He washed up and changed into his azure long robe. "It's so beautiful," Lu Dai couldn't help but exclaim. The robe was made of cotton and had a simple design. It wasn't considered beautiful at all. However, it had a great significance as it represented one's status as an official teacher in the Central Province Academy. Lu Dai was moaning at his own fate when he looked at the school emblem on Sun Mo's chest. He had no idea when he'd have the rights to put on the teacher's long robe. Zhang Sheng curled up under his blankets. When he heard Lu Dai's words, he couldn't help but open up a small gap and sneak a peek. He then felt very gloomy. He had thought that he'd be the only teacher in this dorm who would be able to stay behind. He hadn't expected that Sun Mo managed to beat him to it. This difference between them made him felt extremely unbearable. It was as if he had thought of the name for the child between him and his goddess, but ended up finding out that his beloved goddess was being embraced and kissed by Sun Mo. Sun Mo tidied his collar and Zhang Sheng's eyes twitched. Sun Mo smoothed out the wrinkles in his clothes and Zhang Sheng's lips twitched. There was no other way around it. Sun Mo's actions made Zhang Sheng feel as if he was seeing Sun Mo's big tongue probing into his beloved goddess's mouth, and was stirring around without restraint. If it wasn't because Zhang Sheng still had a hint of rationality left in him, he really wanted to jump out and break Sun Mo's head. Lu Dai's expression seemed conflicted, as if he wanted to say something. It was only until he saw that Sun Mo was about to leave that he quickly spoke up. "Teacher Sun, is something the matter?" Sun Mo frowned slightly. I've braised pig trotters. Do you want to try one?" Lu Dai felt awkward after saying this. However, it was like after selling one's body for the first time, they'd get used to the subsequent times. Lu Dai started to speak a lot more fluently after that. They are cooked in seasoned soup stock and the flavors are well infused. Even teacher Zushani said that they taste good. "Oh, thank you. I don't like to eat things that are too oily for breakfast." Sun Mo rejected. Lu Dai heaved a sigh of relief after seeing the door closing. He had finally taken the first step in an attempt to fix their relationship. Thankfully he hadn't offended Sun Mo like Yuan Feng had did. Otherwise, he could only change to another dorm now. Bootlicker. Zhang Sheng silently cursed. His limbs then fell down weakly as he lay on the bed, looking up at the ceiling in a daze. The beautiful figure of the goddess in his heart appeared before him once again. However, right now, her face was covered in Sun Mo's disgusting saliva. After entering the teaching building, Qi Shengjiao urged for the 5th time, "Hurry up. If we're late, then there might be no seats left." "What's the hurry? Sun Mo isn't famous anyway." "I reckon that it'd probably be great if there are 20 students who are here to listen to his public lecture." Zhangzhou yawned. He wanted to experience the ancient dragon capturing hands again and thus came to show support for Sun Mo. "Did you guys see the announcement? Teacher Gao Ben's public lecture is today as well. Why don't we go over and listen to it first? If he takes a liking to us, we might be able to become his personal disciple." Wang Hao suggested. Given his aptitude, it was impossible for him to become a great teacher's personal disciple. Therefore, he had to go for the second best. Moreover, Gao Ben was a graduate from the Liang Province's West Shore Military School, a famous school that was part of the 9 Greats. He was very amazing. "I'm not going." Qi Shengjiao refused decisively. He was sure to support Sun Mo. "I'm fine with anything." Zhangzhou didn't mind. Wang Hao's eyes rolled and he smiled. "Then I'll go and find out information about teacher Gao Ben." After saying that, Wang Hao ran off. One can only succeed after grabbing onto opportunities. Although Sun Mo's reputation is great, his reputation is a negative one. Everyone is saying that he's someone who sponges off a woman. Wang Hao mumbled. He felt that even if there were people who went to listen to Sun Mo's public lecture, it'd be to watch him making a joke of himself. It was one thing for him to show support if it was any other time. However, Teacher Gao Ben was conducting a class today, so he was sure to go and try his luck over there. In the lecture theater in the northwest corner on the third level of the teaching building. When Qi Shangjie arrived, it was quite late. Therefore, he walked very quickly. However, he had just stepped into the classroom and took a look when his neck instantly shrank back. He subconsciously wanted to leave. Bang! Qi Shangjie knocked into Zhangzhou, who was behind him. What's the matter? Before Zhangzhou finished his words, his voice softened a lot. It was because there were several tens of teachers seated in the lecture theater. What the hell? Zhangzhou was surprised. He looked at the last row and saw that even Headmaster and Xin Huai was here. 2 seats away from her was Jin Muji, the most famous 3-star great teacher in the school. What's going on? Why did so many teachers come? Qi Shangjie mumbled softly. How would I know? Zhangzhou rolled his eyes. However, as he was born in a family of traders, in addition to the guidance his father had given him since young, he had a wider outlook toward things. He reckoned that these teachers were probably here to give Sun Mo trouble. It made sense. And Xin Huai was the goddess for all the male teachers and students in the school. However, she suddenly became Sun Mo's fiancée. Of course everyone would be displeased. There was a segment for questions and answers on the first public lecture. This was an open chance for them to make things difficult for Sun Mo. There was no way that they'd let this chance slip by. Sun Mo is in for it. Zhangzhou tugged at Qi Shangjie, then found a seat for them. Qi Shangjie felt uneasy when he saw a 16-year-old guy entering while being surrounded by over 10 other students. He felt even more nervous. Why is Zuyong here? Qi Shangjie was very worried. This student was a well-known prick in the school. Just because his father was one of the top 10 wealthiest merchants in Jinling City, giving him a very strong background, he thus usually acted arrogantly. He would find amusement in making fools of other students and intern teachers. He heard that there had been a teacher who had reprimanded Zuyong before, but was bullied so badly that the teacher ended up resigning. However, despite his bad character, Zuyong had a good aptitude. Xu Shaoyun had taken a liking to him. Xu Shaoyun was a 2-star great teacher. As it got nearer to the time for the class to start, the students entered in succession. Almost every student who came in were shocked to see so many teachers seated in the back rows. They would either choose to go out or sit down. Zhangzhou counted. There were over 100 of them, out of which, a large majority of them were freshmen. They had no idea that Sun Mo was and Xin Huai's fiancée and only came to have an experience of what classes were like because they were bored. When Jiang Yongnian came in, he was given a big shock. Why were there so many people? After seeing that the teachers took up half of the participants, he burst out laughing. Sun Mo was probably going to have it tough. Why are you standing here? Go on in. A voice suddenly rang out behind Jiang Yongnian, causing him to force back his smile and quickly move to the side. At the same time, he gave his greeting. Greetings Headmaster Jiang. Jiang Yongnian was a smart person and took away the vice from the address. Zhang Hanfu entered the lecture theater and the teachers immediately greeted him. Over 10 of them even got up to offer their seats. Zhu Shani shook his head. He had heard of how Sun Mo went up against Zhu Shani at the meeting for intern teachers, and had agreed to a duel with Feng Ziyuan. The reason Zhang Hanfu came today was definitely not to observe Sun Mo's teaching capabilities. There were so many people. Will things be alright? Lu Xiaoyu hid behind the door, exposing only half of an eye. She sneaked a look into the lecture theater and then quickly shrank back. Cough cough. Seems like our teacher isn't in a good situation. Tan Tang covered his mouth with a handkerchief, speaking in an amused tone. Xuan Yunpo was wiping his silver spear while his gaze landed on Jiang Leng. Amongst the 4 of them, he felt that this younger martial brother who had a tattoo on his face was the greatest threat to him. Jiang Leng was expressionless. He sat on the floor and was reading a Spirit Rune encyclopedia. Li Ziqi pinched her forehead, feeling a little helpless. What were all these people the teacher had taken in? There was Lu Xiaoyu, who was cowardly and hadn't successfully reached the body refinement realm. There was Tan Tang, who looked so sickly that it seemed as if he was on the verge of death. There was Jiang Leng, whose body was covered in battered spirit runes and clearly didn't have a good growth potential. There was Xuan Yunpo, whose brain seemed to be filled with muscles, only thinking about fighting every day. Teacher's teaching path was really long and arduous. Teacher's son is here, Lu Xiaoyuo reminded. The 5 of them immediately stood in a row according to the order Sun Mo had taken them in as his disciple. Before the class, students had to stand in a row and greet the teacher. This was a rule that applied to every school. Of course, if the teacher didn't ask for it, it could be exempted. Chapter 76, Debut. Gao Ben stood on the rostrum and looked at the lecture hall that could hold 300 people. At this moment, as many as 200 people were seated, and he couldn't help but flash an arrogant smile from the corner of his mouth. Zhang Hanfu, can you see this? This is the power of a famous school graduate to rally supporters. What rights does Sun Mo have to compete with me? Gao Ben felt some disdain in his heart. He was actually used as a tool to beat Sun Mo down, making him feel that his talent was wasted on an insignificant person. His opponent should have been Liu Mu Bai. Gixuk-sun, Zhang Lan. Sorry, Gao Ben didn't regard them in his eyes. I reckon that not even halfway through the public lecture, those students in Sun Mo's class will be running over to watch me teach, right? Gao Ben cleared his throat and was preparing to commence his first lesson after the bell rang. This was going to be his starting point of becoming well known in the world. Greetings, teacher. Under the lead of Li Ziki, 5 students bowed and greeted in unison, spreading their voices within the classroom. Some intern teachers, who saw this scene through the windows, couldn't help but feel envious. When would they start to have such treatment too? Sun Mo smiled and looked at the students one by one. Even if it was the sickly Tan Tang or the tattoo-faced Jiang Leng, Sun Mo still felt happy while looking at them because they were his own students. Sun Mo's character was as such. Once a student was allocated to his class, he would teach them with his heart and soul. For this reason, Sun Mo never had the time to find a girlfriend. As number 2 high school was a good senior high school, Sun Mo's occupation was considered pretty good. Therefore, many people had introduced some women to him, but they were all rejected because Sun Mo really had no time to meet them. Ding! Congratulations on recruiting 5 students at the student recruitment meet and completing the mission. Now, according to the students' aptitudes, you have won yourself a black iron treasure chest. Please keep up the good work. The system's voice sounded, and at the same time, a big black iron treasure chest fell in front of Sun Mo's eyes. How can this be? I thought I could at least get a silver treasure chest. Sun Mo was in shock. Was something wrong with this evaluation system? What kind of dream are you having? All your 5 students have a huge shortcoming each. Li Ziki, Xuan Yunpo, and Tan Tang all have extremely high potential values, but Li Ziki's athletic abilities are extremely bad. On the road of cultivation, she practically doesn't have any prospects. It would be lucky if she could step into the blood ignition realm in her lifetime. In the 9 provinces where martial artists were honored the most, Li Ziki can be considered a useless person. Even if she has rather good innate skills in other areas, she is unable to reach the longevity realm and will only live up to 100 years at most. What use is there? Then why did you announce a mission for me to take her in as a disciple? Sun Mo questioned. That's a test for you. After the system explained, it continued to nag. Xuan Yunpo is very suitable for combat, but his brain is filled with muscles. If he doesn't change this shortcoming, he will definitely die fast. Tan Tang will have an early death as well. System spoke a huge pile of blah blah, but as for useless people like Lu Xiaoyuo and Jiang Leng, their potential values were so low that it was disinclined to even give them a mention. I think they are all pretty good though? Sun Mo questioned. You're holding on to the absolute great teacher system, yet you've recruited 5 students of such standards. Don't you feel ashamed? The system rebutted violently. Since Sun Mo hadn't recruited at least 3 high-level talents, it was definitely a form of humiliation to the absolute great teacher system. Alright, aren't you annoying? Quickly take your leave. Sun Mo talked back to the system without a good mood. He walked over to the papaya girl and touched her head. Let's go in and prepare for the lesson. Teacher, you must be careful. Lu Xiaoyuo looked at Sun Mo worriedly. Teacher, cheer up. Li Ziki waved her little fist. As for the other 3, their attitudes were as though they were facing a passerby. Sun Mo had gotten used to this. After all, It was too impractical for students to start worshipping a teacher they were not familiar with. However, Sun Mo wasn't discouraged. He believed that they would approve of his teaching abilities one day or even worship him. Open the treasure chest. The treasure chest opened up after hearing the voice. After the brilliance flashed through, a giant medicine packet was left behind. A pity it isn't an ancient whale oil. Sun Mo pouted. Dong, dong, dong. The melodious sound of the bell rang. It was 9 a.m. Sun Mo didn't go in immediately but waited outside the door. He closed his eyes and counted silently to 30 before he entered. Swoosh. When Sun Mo stepped into the classroom, all gazes suddenly became focused. There was neither a slight transition nor a pause in Sun Mo's footsteps. He maintained a calm appearance and stood on the rostrum. Good morning, students and teachers. I'm Sun Mo. This is my first public lecture and I'll be elaborating on my teaching philosophy. Sun Mo started to speak. His clear and candid voice sounded across the entire classroom. Jin Muji, who was seated in the last row, scanned Sun Mo from head to toe with her beautiful eyes and praised him in her heart. Sun Mo's bearing was extremely flawless. It was unbelievable that he wasn't a little bit nervous at all. His ability to resist stress was extremely formidable. Our teacher's image and temperament are so good. Li Ziqi smiled. The azure robe on Sun Mo's body fitted him just right and gave him an even more sunny and fresh appearance. It felt as though he was in the warm breeze of a summer day. Cheer up, teacher. Qi Shangjie was encouraging Sun Mo. However, just as he finished calling out those words in his heart, a sharp voice interrupted Sun Mo's speech. Teacher Sun, you're late. Swoosh. Everyone's gaze looked toward the left side of the classroom. Zuyong was smiling and enjoying the attention on him and then added on again, teacher, you're late. Oh no, oh no. This Zuyong was indeed creating trouble. Qi Shangjie got anxious. A few intern teachers had expressions of rejoicing, especially Jiang Sheng who was hiding in the back row. He wished to jump and clap for Zuyong. Sun Mo turned his head slightly and looked over. Zuyong, a 16-year-old spirit refinement cultivator. He has opened up 6 Aku points. Strength, 11, sufficient usage will do. There's no need for a bicycle. Intellect, 13, cunning and full of wisdom, but these aspects are not used on the right path and used to harm people instead. Agility, 13, even though speed is his forte, it is too lousy. Will, 10, horrible. Endurance, 8, young people who don't know moderation, excessively indulging in debauchery. Potential value, average. Remark, he is arrogant and prideful. He looks down on others and enjoys teasing people for fun. He is a little scumbag. Seeing the system's evaluation, Sun Mo could comprehend Zuyong's mentality now. In a school, there would always be a few bad students. For a student like Zuyong, he was just trying to seek a form of psychological thrill from bullying others. Swoosh. Everyone's gaze landed back on Sun Mo. They were waiting for his answer. This is a talent's right. Sun Mo spoke. Swoosh. This reply was like a hurricane in the tropics, blowing away the entire classroom and causing a widespread commotion instantly. Everyone was indescribably surprised and stunned. Is Sun Mo crazy? Lu Dai was stunned. This sentence shouldn't have been said. As expected, he could hear some students start to mutter, how arrogant is this teacher? He's so full of himself. His reaction to contingencies is extremely terrible. The classroom wasn't silent anymore. Jin Muji was very curious about Sun Mo's next reply. Feng Zhuan let out a laugh. Was there even a need for him to put Sun Mo into trouble? Sun Mo had already exposed himself. This fella is doing it on purpose. Qi Shangjie stared at Zuyong furiously. In Central Province Academy, some teachers preferred to arrive a few minutes before classes started, while some preferred to arrive right at the dot. Others preferred to wait for the bell to finish ringing and would continue standing at the door for another 1 to 2 minutes. They would only enter the classroom after the students were seated and had quietened down. Sun Mo was only late for 10 seconds. It wasn't even considered late at all. This Zuyong was definitely trying to nitpick him. Even though the new students didn't understand, the teachers had understood the situation. However, they were not going to help Sun Mo because this was his stage. Eldest miss, you've asked me here just to look at this. Zilin sat beside Xin Huai and scoffed lightly. If it wasn't for eldest miss who pulled her here, she would never have wasted her time to come. Be quiet, Xin Hui instructed. She looked at Sun Mo and got increasingly curious. She wanted to know how Sun Mo was going to respond. In school, it wasn't a big deal if teachers were late for 2 to 3 minutes. However, since Zuyong had questioned him, Sun Mo had to explain himself. If he were to apologize during his first public lecture, that would be too detrimental to his value. If this was spread out in the future, his reputation would be severely affected. After all, a teacher who was late could not be a good teacher. Not apologizing, then Zuyong could continue to question Sun Mo as though the latter was reluctant to admit his mistake and had a problem with his moral character. Zuyong could even question Sun Mo's work ethic. If this matter was spread out, students might start to feel that Sun Mo's work ethic was lacking. Then no one would attend his public lecture anymore. No student would like a teacher who was always late. This was a fact. Xin Hui didn't expect that Sun Mo's response would be like this. It was practically displaying his original self. Are you saying that you're a talent? Zuyong inquired with an innocent expression and suppressed the commotion in the classroom. The teachers all looked at Sun Mo and wanted to see what response he was going to give next. If they were to put themselves in his shoes, this question from Zuyong was really very tricky. Li Ziki could feel her heart wrench suddenly. If Sun Mo were to reply yes I am, then his reputation would definitely suffer. That was because Zuyong could even question that if he was a talent, then why didn't he get into one of the 9 great famous schools? The questions were so forceful that Sun Mo would vomit blood. If Sun Mo were to reply no I'm not, then it would go against his previous answer. Zuyong could also reply that since Sun Mo wasn't a talent, then what right did he have for being late? Just as Li Ziki was racking her brain, thinking of how to resolve this for Sun Mo, she felt someone pulling her clothes. She turned her head and saw Lu Xiao's expression filled with worry. I'm 20 years old now and I'm a teacher in Central Province Academy. Sun Mo's expression was different from what everyone else expected. There wasn't the slightest amount of anxiousness. He was so calm and collected as though he was sitting under the dusk on a summer day while enjoying a plate of delicious charcoal grilled Pacific sori. Ha, that makes you a talent? When I'm 20 years old, I'd probably be a teacher from Jixia Learning Palace or Heavenly Mystery Academy. My accomplishments will definitely be higher than yours. Zuyong mocked him. Even though he knew he wouldn't be able to do it, no one would dare to question him. After all, that was a matter of the future and who could prove it? Is that so? Sun Mo laughed. When I was your age, I had broken through the spirit refinement realm, opened up 26 Aku points, and was already proficient in the Overflow Rain Sword. I had also gained the self-taught Halo and displayed my potential as a teacher. What about you? Zuyong was speechless suddenly. Chapter 77, This is my stage. There was complete silence in the entire classroom and you could even hear the noise of summer cicadas crawling on the wutong trees outside the windows. Sun Mo stood on the rostrum and looked straight at Zuyong, giving him an expression that indicated for him to continue questioning him. Zuyong felt so awkward that he wanted to die. How could he continue questioning Sun Mo? That was because when they were both 16 years old, instead of other achievements, one should just look at the realms that they had attained. When you compared Zuyong with Sun Mo, Zuyong's achievement wasn't worth mentioning at all. How awesome! Jin Muji wanted to applaud as Sun Mo's counterattack was sharp and overbearing. It was filled with a sense of crushing aura. As Jin Muji was seated at the back, she couldn't see Zuyong's expressions. However, she could have guessed that this fella must have felt as uncomfortable as though he was constipated. But how did Sun Mo know that Zuyong was inferior to him? What if Zuyong's background was better than him? His counterattack would have been useless and people can use it to start attacking him instead. Jin Muji thought about it for a while and concluded that Zuyong was a student who liked to stir trouble and was definitely not a fan of cultivation. Hence, his achievements were terrible. However, this wasn't the fact. Sun Mo had used his divine sight and already had a panoramic view of Zuyong's data. A gang of scoundrels who were beside Zuyong had been smiling mischievously. They had already been prepared to watch Sun Mo make a fool of himself. Zuyong was the beloved son of a tycoon in Jinling and was used to being pampered from a young age. Hence, he grew up to become a fault finder and loved making people embarrassed. Even though he was a scoundrel, Zuyong had a great mind. The tricks that he used usually gave the teachers a hard time, so much so that they had unspeakable bitterness. Today was Sun Mo's first public lecture, and Zuyong had prepared to ruin his debut and gave him an unforgettable memory. However, he was met with defeat now. The gang of scoundrels couldn't laugh anymore. "Sit down," Sun Mo instructed Humphrey. Zuyong sat down and crossed both his arms firmly in front of his chest. His right foot couldn't stop tapping on the floor. He was in such a bad mood as he had always been the one making fun of others. When was he at such a disadvantage before? This was actually the first time. Besides, Teacher Xu Shaoyan had hinted for him to embarrass Sun Mo to no end. If this matter wasn't settled well, he would be implicated as well. No, this wouldn't do. He must continue to think of another strategy. Teacher Sun is so awesome. Qi Shangjie was extremely excited. Teacher Sun had actually defeated that big fault finder. Ding. Favorable impression points from Qi Shangjie plus 15. Prestige connection with Qi Shangjie, friendly. 428 1/1000ths. Teacher has won. Lu Xiaoyu held on to Li Ziqi's clothing and her excitement made her cheeks flush in red. Ding. Favorable impression points from Lu Xiaoyu plus 10. Prestige connection with Lu Xiaoyu, friendly. 253 1/1000ths. Unperturbed. Li Ziqi smiled slightly and had totally forgotten how she had been so anxious just now, racking her brain to help Sun Mo mediate the situation. The two notification sounds made Sun Mo a little speechless. This honest lad and papaya girl must be too high-yielding. Huh? I have merely berated a punk. Why did they admire it so much? Moreover, they gave quite a lot of favorable impression points. As expected, the more unsophisticated a person was, the easier they were at trusting people. Just when everyone thought it was time to return to the normal lesson, a teacher who was 30 years old also started to provoke Sun Mo again. When I was your age, I had broken through the spirit refinement realm and opened up 31 Aku points. Swoosh. Everyone's gaze looked over. Fang Chen looked at Sun Mo with arrogance. What right did you have to be the fiancé of Headmaster and Xin Huai? I would be tearing down both your inner substance and reputation and trample on them ruthlessly. Sun Mo still wasn't anxious nor impatient and activated the divine sight. Fang Chen, 35 years old. Blood Ignition Realm, very experienced teacher but has not obtained the star level. Strength, 23, mediocre. Potential value, average. Remark, he is in self-denial. After he reached 25 years old, there was no more progress in his cultivation. He might not have any more accomplishments in the future. Sun Mo glanced at him and quickly retrieved the necessary data. Oh yes, I was also cultivating the Overflow Rain Sword at that time. But my teacher mentioned that it wasn't worthy to be cultivated by me anymore. Hence, he found another Earth-tier Peerless grade cultivation art for me. Fang Chen tilted the corner of his mouth upward. The feeling of superiority within his tone was enough to drown a person. Sun Mo laughed. Really? Then how about when you were 20 years old? Haha, I was headhunted personally by Headmaster Jiang Hanfu. Fang Chen's face was filled with complacency. Then have you been officially employed at that time? Sun Mo continued to inquire. This time? Fang Chen's smile became frozen. Of course, he hadn't. All intern teachers had to go through 1 year of internship. Even though Fang Chen's aptitude was pretty good, he hadn't been so outstanding to the extent where the school had to make an exception for him. Looking at that appearance of yours, it means you hadn't. Sun Mo laughed gently. Well, I'm now an officially employed teacher in this academy. Do you want me to show you the employment letter? Fang Chen was so angry that his chest was moving up and down. Luckily, he was still considered quick-witted and quickly found new phrases to continue arguing. You guys are just lucky. If our batch of intern teachers could also recruit students, I would have passed the evaluation and gotten hold of the employment letter as well. Lucky. Sun Mo's tone became stricter. Our batch has a total of 200 intern teachers and only 4 people passed the evaluation in the end. To win in a competition of over 200 people, is this an insignificant achievement? Then please open your eyes and look at Zhang Lan and Gao Ben who are in the same batch as me. They are both graduates of the 9 great famous schools, while Gixuk Sun is a non-graduate of Zhongzhou Academy. According to your theory, if I'm mediocre, Then aren't they the same? As for those 200 losers, won't they only fit to be called useless by your standard, huh? Also, you may be questioning my ability. Let me tell you, in the competition of student recruitment meet, I've also defeated Qin Fen. Who is Qin Fen? A graduate of Jixia Learning Palace. Headmaster and headhunted him over herself. Do you think he's a useless person? Sun Mo questioned this poor guy like a barrage of gunfire. No, that's not what I meant. Fang Chen tried to clarify but didn't know which aspect he should begin with. His mind was in confusion, and he couldn't find any reason to rebuke Sun Mo for the time being. Then what did you mean? Sun Mo talked back at once. Could we have entered by giving presents through the back door? Could we have received the official employment letter by pulling relations and selling our butts? Hearing Sun Mo's amusing words, many students and teachers started laughing. However, they only realized after laughing that in order for Sun Mo to become an official teacher, he indeed had certain capabilities. What terrible eloquence! Xin Huai shook her head. It was no wonder that Fang Chen still didn't have many achievements despite his age. As a teacher, he didn't even have a strong eloquence. How could he even do a decent lecture? Useless. Looking at Fang Chen, Zhang Hanfu couldn't stop cursing and scolding in his heart. However, Sun Mo could talk really well with the gift of the gab. All right. You can sit down now. The color on Fang Chen's face disappeared as he sat his butt down on the stool. To speak the truth, he had just thrown such a big face away. Hearing the comments of the students around, which seemed to be sneering at him, he wanted to take his leave so badly. However, he couldn't. He must stay behind and look for an opportunity to strike back. Otherwise, he was going to become a stepping stone for Sun Mo's career. The students were all whispering. The intern teachers, who were present, had expressions of embarrassment on their faces because they were all losers in this competition. Puk, puk, puk. Suddenly, there were sounds of applause. Fang Chen was indignant. Are they trying to slap my face? But when he turned his head and was prepared to glare at the one applauding, his expression became stiff. Because the one applauding was Jin Muji, a 3-stars great teacher. The moon-white long robe on her represented her position in the school and the great teacher circle. When the teachers saw this scene, they were distracted for a moment before the sparse sounds of applause started echoing as well. Among the teachers who were here to watch Sun Mo's first public lecture, some belonged to the neutral clan and had only come here out of boredom. All they wanted was to see for themselves who Xin Huai's fiancée was. This moment, their applause could be considered as acknowledgement of Sun Mo's performance. His quick-witted adaptability and nimble eloquence couldn't be feigned. Just by looking at those students' reactions, you would know that Sun Mo's opening was on the winning hand. How formidable! Huh? Jiang Yongnian pouted and thought about it carefully. Everyone was saying that Sun Mo was living off a woman and that he was a graduate from Zhongzhou Academy, so he wasn't worthy of being with Xin Huai. Who was Xin Huai? She was an honor graduate of Heavenly Mystery Academy, one of the 9 great aristocratic schools, and she had the reputation of a talent that you would only meet once in 100 years. Moreover, she was a great beauty that was ranked 7th on the devastating beauty rankings. If you were to seek such a talent in the various countries of 9 provinces, you wouldn't even find more than 3 of them. This seemed like the situation of how a national female celebrity had gotten together with an ordinary person. How could everyone accept it? In everyone's eyes, the fiancé of a national female celebrity should have been the son of a rich and powerful family. If not, he should at least be a national male celebrity to be an appropriate match for her in terms of social statuses. And what kind of person was Sun Mo? When everyone saw Sun Mo, they would naturally start to see him in another light. They would nitpick and find all sorts of fault with him. As long as Sun Mo had any single inadequacy, it would be magnified endlessly. In fact, Sun Mo was indeed not fit to be a match for Xin Huai. However, when you put him in comparison with other ordinary people, then he was considered pretty good. If he was really a useless person, he wouldn't even have entered Zhongzhou Academy. What a formidable specious argument. Gixuk-sun pouted and somewhat admired Sun Mo's quick-witted adaptability. It could be said that Sun Mo had borrowed her reputation to raise his social value. Entirely useless. Zhang Sheng looked at Fang Chen and was fuming with anger. Did he spend the last few years of experience as a dog? How could he have lost to Sun Mo in this verbal battle? Sun Mo nodded toward Zhen Muji as a form of gratitude. His action was so minuscule that nobody had realized it. Following this, he immediately started to speak. This brief interlude has ended. Let's continue the self-introduction. Sun Mo was really afraid that other great teachers would stand up to attack him verbally again. Xu Shaoyan and Feng Zhuan, who had disputes with him previously, were both present as well. When compared to Fang Chen, these two persons were genuine elites. Speaking from conscience, his original self's aptitude was of above-average standard and not considered bad. However, it wasn't close to a talent standard at all. Otherwise, he wouldn't have only reached enlightenment for priceless advice halo just before he was about to drown. What use does good eloquence have? A teacher's best asset is still their teaching ability. Feng Zhuan was frustrated. Even if Sun Mo was able to say his piece with extravagant embellishments, at the end of the day it was down to whether he could coach students or not. Whether the students improved or not was the genuine test of this first public lecture, and the test had only just begun. Li Ziki observed her surroundings and realized that as compared to before, the students' interests had been evoked. Chapter 78, You guys don't understand Teacher Sun's excellence. The lesson had started. When Gao Ben was doing his self-introduction and mentioned Gixia Learning Palace, which he graduated from, sounds of surprise echoed throughout the entire classroom. Looking at the envious and admiring gazes from those young and tender students, Gao Ben's expression remained unperturbed, but he could feel his ego swell. Zhang Hanfu, have you seen that? This is the influence of a graduate of an aristocratic school. To think you're comparing me with Sun Mo, you don't even understand my value. Gao Ben had a vile character in his heart who couldn't stop sneering. His enemies were Liu Mubai and Gixuk-sun from Zhongzhou Academy. No matter how it was calculated, his rival would never be Sun Mo. The 300 seats lecture theatre was now filled with not less than 200 people. This was where Gao Ben got his arrogance and confidence from. Sun Mo had been working hard for 3 years, but the number of people in his public lecture perhaps couldn't reach this number. The other lecture theatre's atmosphere seemed quite harmonious. Some students were not interested in gossip and rumors, hence, they didn't know that Sun Mo was Xin Huai's fiancée, nor did they know about those negative news. They only came here to listen to the lecture and look at Sun Mo's standards. During the lecture, Sun Mo had not only dealt with Zhu Yong's deliberate questioning but also left another teacher speechless with his verbal skill. He had also very naturally displayed his excellence. Putting his teaching ability aside, at least Sun Mo stood firm and steadily on the rostrum. This kind of confidence, calmness, and free-spiritedness was very infectious. After the students had quietened down, an arc appeared on the corner of Xin Huai's mouth. This was the charm that belonged to Sun Mo. His perfect performance had temporarily won over the students. It made them want to continue listening. I'm good at 3 disciplines. Firstly, the study of spirit runes. Secondly, medical arts. And thirdly, traditional painting. Right after Sun Mo spoke, voices of comments were echoing. What is medical arts? This vocabulary is so unfamiliar. I haven't heard of it before. Is it a new discipline? Not only the students, but even the teachers let out a perplexed expression and didn't know what trick Sun Mo was plotting. It seems like everyone is puzzled by medical arts. Let me explain. This is the conclusion of some of my experiences and will be of great assistance toward cultivation. After Sun Mo finished explaining, everyone present went into a commotion. He is just making things unnecessarily complicated. Xu Shaoyan ridiculed him. A fellow who isn't a great teacher wants to establish a new discipline? Is this a joke? If it was, then a boar could even give birth to a monkey. Teacher Sun, this is your first public lecture. You must not mess around. A teacher from below shouted. Everyone, please remain patient and listen to my explanation. Sun Mo moved his palms downward and indicated for everyone to keep quiet. It's named medical arts, which means that it's a discipline that combines medical science and cultivation arts. Everyone is a cultivator. Do you all think that just by spending great efforts in cultivating, you'll be able to upgrade your realms? Sun Mo inquired. You don't say. We can't possibly be cultivating when we're eating or resting, right? Zuyong started to make fun of Sun Mo again. Yes. During the period of cultivation, what you eat, how much you eat, the time you sleep, even your method of sleeping, all of this will affect your health and your results of cultivation, Sun Mo explained. The students were astonished once again. On the contrary, those teachers with some experience started to frown and pondered over what Sun Mo had said. Cultivation is not just attainable by meditation. The warm-up prior to cultivating, the maintenance after cultivating, and the intensity of cultivating, all of this must be considered as well. Sun Mo started to elaborate on his philosophy of medical arts. This was actually the spirit chi version of sports medicine. In the original world where Sun Mo had lived in, the study of sports medicine was an emerging discipline. In the past, athletes were all engrossed in training hard. But now, it was about the scientific knowledge of diet, training, as well as rehabilitation. Why did certain athletes rarely injure themselves? Why was the recovery process shorter? And why were certain athletes able to maintain their peak performance for over 10 years? Sports were all about scientific knowledge. Those top-notch football clubs such as Manchester United, Real Madrid, and Barcelona, they all had professional doctors, nutritionists, therapists, and fitness coaches. These people made up a training plan to ensure that the top-notch footballers always maintained their best state. Cultivation is a serious matter that runs through a cultivator's entire lifetime, hence, the cultivator's state will always be fluctuating. And what medical arts pursue is to always maintain the cultivator's state at its optimal moment, Sun Mo explained. The students were still dumbfounded, while some of the teachers had already revealed expressions of sudden realization. So that's what it is. Jiang Yongnian nodded. When he was training his students, prior to the start of certain yearly competitions, he would plan the students' diet and resting time. Many teachers were already doing that, but they were all relying on the inherited experience from the previous teacher. They only found it to be beneficial to the students, but as for the root cause of this strategy, most teachers didn't try to think about it. Now that Sun Mo had concluded it, they seemed as though they had achieved speedy enlightenment. Jin Muji was flabbergasted. This Sun Mo isn't that simple, huh? Xin Huai's beautiful eyes brightened up. Sun Mo had once again given her another surprise. Be quiet, don't interrupt Teacher Sunday. Zhu Shani suddenly shouted with his voice. What are you trying to do? Jiang Yongnian, who was beside him, jumped with fear. But very quickly, he realized that the classroom's noise had disappeared and the teachers were all looking at Sun Mo, waiting for him to continue his narration. Teacher Sun is so awesome. Seeing how even the teachers had become interested, Lu Xiaoyu tugged at Li Ziqi's clothes excitedly. That is indeed our teacher. Li Ziqi felt honored. Xuan Yuanpo was relaxed with his eyes closed. Meanwhile, Jiang Leng was looking pensive, and Tan Yutang was tossing around his ears and looked at Sun Mo with a ruminating expression. I shall use simpler words. A cultivator is like a weapon. A weapon needs to be frequently polished and maintained to ensure its sharpness. A human's body is an even more refined structure, so it naturally requires more maintenance. And medical arts is to teach everyone how to maintain your health and remain at the sharpest state at all times. If Sun Mo hadn't gotten the ancient massage technique, he wouldn't even have dared to launch this discipline. Because the foundation of this discipline was the ability to achieve a detailed understanding of the human body. Alright, today is just the first public lecture, so I won't go into too much professional content. Everyone can come and attend my public lecture on medical arts. Sun Mo kept everyone in suspense at the right timing. SSSS. Suddenly, there were teachers who let out hissing sounds of dissatisfaction. They had already removed their pants and he had already finished his lecture. Sun Mo continued to talk more about the study of spirit runes and traditional painting. Then, he drew a self-portrait on the blackboard with the charcoal pen, showing off his character painting technique. A public lecture's essence was to let students become interested in the teacher, and it would then allow the teacher to pull in a sufficient supply of students for the courses in the future. Hence, they only needed to display their excellence. Half an hour had passed. Jin Muji scanned the classroom and saw the students listening eagerly. She couldn't help but be astonished. Sun Mo's unconstrained appearance on the rostrum didn't seem like a newbie teacher who was lecturing for the first time at all. Could it be that he was of teacher material since birth? Jin Muji was suspicious and grew more interested in Sun Missouri. Ding. Favorable impression points from Jin Muji +1. Prestige connection with Jin Muji, neutral. 4/100ths. How is it? Xin Hui asked her female assistant. Zilin remained silent. She couldn't find any fault from Sun Mo's performance because this fella didn't seem anything like a newcomer. His lecture techniques seemed extremely experienced. He must have been practicing in private. Xin Hui made a guess. Ding. Favorable impression points from Xin Hui +1. Prestige connection with Xin Hui, neutral. 5/100ths. Looking at the atmosphere in the whole classroom, Li Ziqi suddenly felt a little proud. Humphrey, you guys don't understand teacher Sun's excellence. Ding. Favorable impression points from Li Ziqi +5. Prestige connection with Li Ziqi, friendly. 131/1000ths. Having heard the 3 notification sounds from the system, Sun Mo heaved a sigh of relief. For him to have received favorable impression points from them, it meant that he had given a pretty good lecture. But weren't these favorable impression points a bit too little? Sure enough, it wasn't an easy feat to conquer a woman. All right, we'll leave the time for questions now. Anyone with questions, please raise your hand. Sun Mo ended the topic at the right time and moved on to the second segment of the lecture. This was a required process stipulated by the school. He couldn't avoid it. Sun Mo reckoned that Feng Ziyuan's opportunity to raise difficult questions was right at this moment, but he didn't know what difficult questions he had prepared. Qi Shangjia had long since been waiting for this moment. He was afraid that no one would raise any question. If the classroom were to fall into an awkward silence, it would embarrass Teacher Sunday. Hence, he raised his arm immediately. But who could have known that there was someone else quicker than him? Just as Sun Mo's voice ended, more than half of the students raised their arms. For a moment, the raised arms seemed to form a forest that was about to break through the ceiling of the classroom. Oh my lord! Lu Dai was so startled he almost bit his tongue. If it wasn't for the fact that he knew it was impossible, he would have suspected that these students were dummy students hired by Sun Mo. What's the big deal with so many people asking questions? He can only be called outstanding if he manages to answer every question. Otherwise, it'll be even more humiliating. Feng Ziyuan was unperturbed. Perhaps there wasn't even a need for the students he arranged to enter the scene. Sun Mo would have exposed himself by not being able to answer the questions. Those experienced teachers weren't surprised at all. They had already guessed that this situation would happen. Although everyone would only speak the righteous stuff such as education must not be discriminating, in actual fact, the better students were always being favored. Why was it that when everyone was recruiting students, they would voluntarily want those with great aptitudes? They were easy to teach and would attain achievements easily. If you recruited a mediocre student, you were only finding problems for yourself. Of course, there were also teachers who treated good and bad students equally, but the proportion wasn't big. This kind of prevalence had contributed to the situation where almost more than half of the students in any school were without any master. If they had wanted to acquire knowledge or obtain pointers, they could only attend the teacher's public lectures. Of course, they could also get their answers if they inquired with the teachers in private, but they wouldn't be able to successfully stop the teachers for questions every time. Right? The students with their arms raised all had questions in their minds that they weren't able to get their answers to. Now that they had the chance, they were desperately trying every way to get the answer. Sun Mo activated the divine sight and aside from browsing through the great amount of data, he pointed at a student named Wang Gang. What question do you have? Wang Gang stood up and swallowed a mouth of saliva. I'm at the 6th level of body refinement realm but have been stuck for almost half a year. I wonder what's the reason? Chapter 79. I think I should learn how to cook. The lecture theatre fell silent. The students listened seriously. Maybe, Sun Mo's answer might be of use to them. As for the teachers, they all had judging gazes as they stared at Sun Mo. From the looks of things now, the first half hour of Sun Mo's lesson wasn't bad. However, this was insufficient to tell whether a teacher was outstanding or not. One still had to look at their practical ability to guide students. Let's hope he isn't an idiot that only knows theoretical discussion but is actually useless in practice. Zushani sighed. Sun Mo glanced at this skinny youth named Wang Gang. All sorts of data appeared from his body. Wang Gang, 15 years old. 6th level of the body refinement realm. Strength 9. When stirring with the ladle during cooking, you gain immense strength. Intellect 5, sufficient for usage. Agility 3, rigid. Endurance 9, you have an endless source of energy. Potential value, average. Note: love to cook. Rather than being a cultivator, you are more suitable to be a chef. Sun Mo glanced over and felt a little speechless. The data was all quite standard and there were no highlights. But what the hell was that note? Sun Mo involuntarily glanced at Wang Gang's hands. As expected, the joints there were thicker and he was suitable to be a head cook. Wang Gang swallowed a mouthful of saliva, feeling a little uncomfortable from Sun Mo's stare. Sun Mo got down the rostrum and went to Wang Gang's side. He stretched out his hand and touched his shoulder. After that, his hand moved downward as he inspected Wang Gang's muscles. The Grandmaster grade muscle forge technique allowed Sun Mo to understand the conditions of Wang Gang's muscles in a few seconds. However, in order to drag a little time, as well as to increase the value of his guidance in the eyes of the others, he remained in the same position for 1 minute. One must know when some leaders watched you doing stuff, they didn't care about the results. The first thing they looked at would be whether you have a serious attitude or not. If Sun Mo stopped after a few seconds, the other teachers would surely feel that he had a perfunctory attitude and was not serious enough. The reason why you are stuck at the 6th level of the body refinement realm for half a year is because you have not trained enough, Sun Mo explained. Ah? Wang Gang and his roommate at the side both called out in surprise. The over 10 teachers at the back of the lecture theatre also frowned upon hearing that. As for the intern teachers, they couldn't help but begin discussing with each other in low voices. Is he for real? He simply touched the muscles of the student for roughly about 1 minute and already knew the reason. Even a great teacher wouldn't dare to be so confident. Yet, this fellow didn't even inquire about the student's basic situation and already gave his answer. No wonder the other teachers would be filled with suspicions. Sun Mo's earlier inspection and guidance seemed too negligent. Whispering sounds. Feng Zhuan was joyful. It seemed that there was no need for him to act. Increase your cultivation time and increase the intensity of your training. Sun Mo suggested. Teacher, he has already spent a great amount of time cultivating. Wang Gang wanted to speak but was hesitating. However, because his dorm mate had a good relationship with him, his dorm mate couldn't bear it and decided to say something. If he continues to lengthen his cultivation time, he might damage his body. Cultivating 7 hours per day might be considered a lot for students of your age. However, 7 hours isn't sufficient for you. Your endurance is much stronger, hence, you need to lengthen the time and intensity of your cultivation. Sun Mo explained. Stronger endurance? All the teachers and students here glanced at Wang Gang. Some people wanted to sneer. This student is so skinny. Which eyes of yours did you used to see? But Wang Gang had a look of shock as though he had seen a ghost. He screamed. How did you know? The students with slower reactions still had no idea what was going on. As for those with fast reactions, all of them already turned their heads as they looked at Sun Mo. Their expressions were filled with shock. You followed Wang Gang? His dorm mate felt that he had discovered the crux. Am I so bored as to do something so pain in the ass like that? Sun Mo was speechless. If it wasn't for the current location, he really wanted to call the other guy a pig brain. You just inspected his muscles for such a short while, yet you already know the level of intensity of his training? The dorm mate finally thought of the answer, but the answer was too incredible. That pain in the ass by Sun Mo was quite funny, but no one was laughing. All of them were shocked. I'll write a training plan for you, so just follow it. At most, it will take a month and you will be able to break through. At that time, if you still fail, come and look for me. Sun Mo returned to the rostrum as he lifted a pen and began writing on a paper. The students seated on the front row immediately stood up as they craned their necks, staring at the rostrum. The teachers all fell into silence. Sun Mo is so confident in himself. Jiang Yongnian's lips twitched. If it were him, he absolutely wouldn't say such confident words. If that student failed to break through at the time, it would be highly damaging to his reputation. It's good for the young to have confidence. Zhu Shani actually admired Sun Mo's courage. I know that this is Sun Mo's first public lecture. He wishes to shoot to fame with a single shot, so this is why he brags so much now. But what if that student failed to break through to the 7th level of the body refinement realm after following his plan a month later? Zilin questioned. Just when Xin Hui wanted to rebut, Jin Muji, who was seated a few seats away, already spoke. How do you know that the student cannot make it? Do you still need to ask? Sun Mo simply touched his muscles for a while and could already come out with a training plan. His frivolous attitude is clearly problematic. After Zilin spoke, the nearby teachers involuntarily nodded. They felt that such a thing was pretty impossible to accomplish. Some teachers here were still squeezing their brain juice to think of a reason. There were some with overactive imaginations who thought of a possibility. Maybe Wang Gang was someone hired by Sun Mo to put up an act. Naturally, they also didn't dare to agree with Zilin. After all, they were facing Jin Muji, a 3-star great teacher. No one was willing to antagonize her. Little Lin, don't look at others through colored glasses. Also, you must not judge others based on what you know alone. Maybe, you simply have no idea how outstanding Sun Mo is. Jin Muji spoke. If Zilin wasn't Xin Hui's female assistant, Jin Muji couldn't even be bothered to say all these. I know. Zilin didn't dare to talk back, but she felt very unconvinced in her heart. She prepared to look for Wang Gang a month later and use reality to smack Sun Mo's face so as to prove that she wasn't wrong. Hired actor Zhang Sheng thought of the past incidents as he involuntarily let out a sneer. Just you wait, Sun Mo. You won't be able to be complacent for a long time. A month later, your reputation shall be thoroughly discredited. Feng Ziyuan shook his head. Fighting with such a person would only damage his own status. From Feng Ziyuan's point of view, were the teachers who could tell the intensity of a student's training just by inspecting their muscles for a short while? There were, but these teachers were extremely few. And all of them were great teachers with tens of years of experience and had seen at least thousands of students. What basis did Sun Mo have? He was so young. The number of students Sun Mo had seen most probably hadn't even exceeded 1/10 of what he had seen. Take it, cultivate according to this plan. Sun Mo passed the paper to Wang Gang. Usually, everyone could judge whether a person was strong and fit based on their physical state. But in truth, they had to conduct scientific testing and inspection before they could know for sure. It was like those soccer players who could run constantly through the duration of an entire game. They needed high-intensity training in order to maintain their form. Sun Mo's ancient massage technique allowed him to understand the details of people's bodies thoroughly. With the support of his divine sight, he could guarantee that his plan would work. Wang Gang's aptitude was very good. In addition to hard work, he only lacked a sufficient quantity of training. Once the quantity was met, it would trigger a qualitative transformation. The dorm mate by his side was now craning his neck for a look. Thank you, teacher. The others were suspecting Sun Mo of hiring an actor, but Wang Gang himself knew that this was not the case. He was truly emotional. He felt that Sun Mo was really awesome. Honestly speaking, although Wang Gang had cultivated for 7 hours per day, he didn't feel tired at all. When he wanted to increase the amount of time spent in cultivation, he would recall the fixed number of hours given to him by a teacher he had asked in the past. Also, all the other students would at most cultivate for 6 hours per day. By cultivating more than 7 hours, he was afraid he might damage his muscles and needed to be bedridden. Hence, he didn't dare to increase the quantity of training rashly. Wang Gang lowered his head. According to the plan on the paper, he was supposed to cultivate 8 hours per day. He couldn't help but tremble because he once thought of lengthening his cultivation time to 8 hours per day as well. Seems like Teacher Sun does have some capabilities. Wang Gang mumbled. Ding. Favorable impression from Wang Gang +10. Prestige connection with Wang Gang unlocked. Neutral. 10/100ths. Actually, rather than being a cultivator, I feel you should be a chef instead. If there's a chance to, please let me have a taste of the dishes you cook personally. Sun Mo patted Wang Gang on the shoulder, indicating that he could sit down. He then asked, "Is there anyone else who has a question? Raise your hand." After Wang Gang sat down, he had a look of astonishment on his face. He stared at Sun Mo. How did Sun Mo know that he loved to cook? Wang Gang was from a family of cooks. He worshipped his father crazily and wished to inherit his father's legacy. However, his father hoped that he would cultivate and stand out among his peers. Wang Gang had never mentioned this matter to anyone before. Upon thinking of this, Wang Gang couldn't help but shiver. Teacher Sun's hands could even probe what my ambitions are just by inspecting my muscles. Hence, Wang Gang felt even more impressed with Sun Mo. Ding. Favorable impression from Wang Gang +20. Prestige connection with Wang Gang, neutral, 30/100ths. The thoughts of many students were still very pure. They didn't think of the possibility that Wang Gang was a hired actor. When they saw how much gratitude he had toward Sun Mo, all of them began to raise their hands. This student, what problems do you have? Sun Mo pointed to a male student. My name is Zhangzhou. I've been stuck at the 6th level of the body refinement realm for 3 months. Is it because my quantity of training isn't enough? Zhangzhou sniffed. I have to do an inspection before I know. Sun Mo walked to Zhangzhou's side and began to touch his muscles. You are still using this? Several of the teachers were speechless. Headmaster, and if Sun Mo still gives the same method of guidance as before, I will send someone to investigate him. Zhang Hanfu suddenly spoke. His tone was extremely strict. Some of the surrounding teachers shrank their necks, and some rejoiced in Sun Mo's incoming calamity. Vice Headmaster Zhang was clearly suspicious that Sun Mo might be hiring students as actors. If this was true, Sun Mo would be finished. He would be suppressed by the Saint Gate and wouldn't be able to become a teacher forever. What do you mean by this? Xin Huai questioned. What do you think? How can he tell the student's condition by inspecting their muscles for a short while? Do you think he is a great teacher? Zhang Hanfu bluntly spoke, wanting to deal a blow to Xin Huai's prestige in the public. He wanted everyone to know that the person she had chosen was trash. A straight foot is not afraid of a crooked shoe. I trust Sun Mo. Xin Huai fully supported Sun Mo. Your trust is worth nothing. What matters is everyone's trust. You must know that Sun Mo is now a teacher at our school. If he did something so scandalous, our Central Province Academy's reputation would be damaged. Zhang Hanfu was overbearing to the extreme. What's there to fight about? Wouldn't we know the answer if we simply continue watching? Jin Muji interjected. Chapter 80. Harvesting Favorable Impression Points. As a 3-star great teacher, Jin Muji's words were still relatively weighty. Zhang Hanfu snorted while temporarily suppressing his temper. Later on, when Sun Mo screws up, just watch what I'll say to you all. Relax. Sun Mo exerted force as he pressed Zhangzong's biceps. The muscles of this brat were so stiff that he was like a frozen dead catfish. Evidently, he was way too nervous. There were no solutions to it. With so many teachers watching, how could Zhangzhou not be nervous? He felt that this might very well be the highest peak of his life. Sun Mo activated divine sight and surveyed him. 15 years old, 6th level of the body refinement realm. Strength 7. Strength has never been your strong point. Intellect 6. You are intelligent in small ways, but you love to think of yourself as clever when you are actually not. Agility 9. This is your capital. However, your tendons are recently injured, and you have no way to unleash your full potential. Endurance 6. Trash. Potential value. Average. Note: a mediocre person, don't waste any time on him. Sun Mo rapidly read the data. After that, he used the ancient massage technique to do a check before discovering the reason. Did your body start to hurt 3 months ago? Sun Mo didn't move his hands away. Correct. Upon hearing this, Zhangzong's expression that was originally one of heaviness and trepidation turned to one of joy instead. Teacher Sun was truly awesome. He actually knew his situation by just touching his muscles. It seemed like his problem had the possibility of being resolved. Change to another type of mediation method. Right now, The one you are using will cause you to absorb a large amount of spirit chi when you are meditating. Your energy channels are unable to withstand the load, hence, they are now damaged. Sun Mo explained. Zhangzhou was shocked. So, this was the reason? He recalled his past experiences and after that, he revealed a look of sudden realization. 4 months ago, I obtained a Peerless grade Earth Deer meditation art, hence, I started to use it. However, 3 months ago, I started to feel pain in my body, especially at my chest area and Danshan. Those areas felt like they were being pricked by needles. Zhangzhou revealed his situation to allow Sun Mo to have a more detailed and accurate judgment. After all, this matter concerned his body. Zhangzhou didn't dare to conceal anything. Upon hearing Zhangzhou's words, the students were all completely stunned. Their gazes grew more passionate when they stared at Sun Mo. He was actually able to see this. How awesome. As for the teachers, they were bewildered. Was Sun Mo swindling them or did he have true capabilities? Change back to your previous method. It's quite good. Sun Mo persuaded. But Zhangzhou scratched his hair while feeling reluctance in his heart. That's a peak grade Earth Deer meditation art. And it has immense power. Could it be that there's no solution for me to use it? If you don't wish to be crippled, wait until you reach the spirit refinement realm before you change to it. Sun Mo seriously replied. For matters such as cultivation, one had to be overcautious. If there was a mistake, a life might be destroyed. The students and teachers at the scene could all understand Zhangzhou's conflicted feelings. The better a cultivation art, the faster it would allow one's strength to grow. Naturally, it would also be able to raise their cultivation. However, the prerequisite was that one's body must be able to endure it. Would I be able to break through if I changed back to the meditation art I was using before? Zhangzhou solemnly asked. Nope. Your energy channels are already damaged. You need to rest for 1 entire month. Don't even think about meditating, Sun Mo repeatedly warned. So long? Zhangzhou's expression grew dispirited. Cultivation was like a boat going against the currents. The influence of not cultivating for an entire month was simply too great. Teacher Sun, are there other methods to resolve this? My ancient dragon capturing hands can resolve this, but are you willing to try? Sun Mo asked. Actually, he could resolve it. But before obtaining the approval of the student, he wouldn't use his ancient dragon capturing hands without careful consideration. The moment the name ancient dragon capturing hands rang out, everyone immediately began to whisper to each other. It's like he's very capable. Jiang Yongnian ridiculed. The ancient dragon capturing hands is finally going to appear. Qi Shangjie almost jumped up in agitation, as someone who had enjoyed the benefits of the ancient dragon capturing hands before. He knew how powerful this technique was. Hence, his gaze was filled with envy when he looked at Zhangzhou. I'm willing, Zhangzhou decisively replied. He felt that on such an important occasion today, Sun Mo would definitely not dare to joke around with his future. Hence, since Sun Mo said he could resolve it, Sun Mo most probably had 90% confidence. From this point, one could see that the system's evaluation of Zhangzhou's intellect wasn't randomly given with no basis. Zhangzhou was pretty intelligent in small ways. Sun Mo placed his right hand on Zhangzhou's shoulder. He then exerted force as he squeezed. Ugh! Zhangzhou instantly screamed. The pain was so bad that he was perspiring cold sweat. The entire lecture theatre once again fell silent. Everyone was staring at each of Sun Mo's actions. Even the cicadas on the Chinese parasol tree outside the window were frightened away by Zhangzhou's screams. Teacher, it's painful. So painful. Zhangzhou screamed. He was shaking profusely as he curled up involuntarily. The pain was so bad that it felt like someone was plucking his tendons out from his body. Endure it. Sun Mo roared. His hands swiftly roamed around Zhangzhou's body as he continued pressing. He surely looked very stupid now, right? Although his level was higher compared to a little sister working at a foot massage shop. It was truly embarrassing. He also didn't know whether a genie like the one in Aladdin would pop and help to massage his target like before. However, no one felt that Sun Mo looked stupid. This was especially so for some teachers who were also proficient in massaging. When they saw the novel massage technique used by Sun Mo, something that didn't belong to the 3 main factions and 6 branches of massage skills, they couldn't help but reveal an expression of excitement. How long does Sun Mo have to massage him? He wouldn't let everyone wait until the lesson ended, right? A few minutes later, Zhang Sheng grumbled. But the moment his voice rang out, the spirit chi of the surroundings began to fluctuate as they surged over and gathered around Zhangzhou. When the initial pain faded away, what remained was an indescribable feeling of comfort. Hence, Zhangzhou was in a daze. He was intoxicated. At this moment, the sounds of 2 slaps rang out as a feeling of burning pain could be felt on his face. After that, Sun Mo started to berate him. Focus your attention, try to break through, Sun Mo instructed. Ah? Zhangzhou drooled from the corners of his mouth. He had a dumbfounded look on his face. Breakthrough? What breakthrough? Teacher, you should continue your massage. Don't stop. It's simply too comfortable. Sun Mo's circulation technique was very strong. Zhangzhou's energy channels and meridians were cleared, allowing spirit chi to directly surge into his body. Suddenly, the spirit chi in Zhangzhou's body exploded like a hurricane. With a boom, not only did the dust on the ground fly up, but the corner of the robes and the hair of the students in the surroundings fluttered wildly as well. The entire scene was completely silent. Everyone was looking at Zhangzhou. There were many thoughts in the hearts of everyone, but they didn't know what to say. Zushani was still the boorish one, and he directly howled in disbelief. What the fuck? He broke through just like that. Due to being overly shocked, Zushani accidentally spewed vulgarities. Jiang Yongnian's lips twitched. Based on lip reading, one could tell he was saying the 3 words "fuck your mum." Zhangzhou gradually regained his senses. Who am I? Where am I? Zhangzhou, you just broke through. Why are you not thanking Teacher Sun yet? A student at the side silently reminded him. His gaze was filled with envy, and all the other students had similar expressions. Wasn't this Zhangzhou too lucky? They should have seized the opportunity to ask Sun Mo earlier. What a pity. I broke through? How is this possible? Zhangzhou subconsciously mumbled, but after he spoke, he discovered something wrong. His condition was a lot better now. Not only was his sight and hearing very clear, but even his body felt much more comfortable. This was the feeling after a breakthrough. Teacher Sun. Zhangzhou stuttered. His face was filled with bewilderment. How did he manage to achieve a breakthrough? Although you have broken through, there are still some problems with your energy channels. You have to rest for at least a week before you start with your meditation again. After Sun Mo instructed, he patted Zhangzhou's shoulder. You can sit down now. Zhangzhou sat down like a wooden puppet. His face was still filled with bewilderment. Ancient dragon capturing hands. Awesome. Qi Shengjia waved his clenched fist in the air and roared wildly in his heart. Ding. Favorable impression points from Qi Shengjia plus 30. Prestige connection with Qi Shengjia, friendly. 458 1/1000ths. Teacher is so awesome. Teacher is so awesome. Lu Xiaoyu grabbed Li Ziki by her arm and jumped about happily. Ding. Favorable impression points from Lu Xiaoyu plus 30. Prestige connection with Lu Xiaoyu, friendly. 283 1/1000ths. HMPH. That's only natural. Li Ziki swept her gaze across the entire lecture theater. Who asked you guys to doubt my teacher? Are you all convinced now? Ding. Favorable impression points from Li Ziki plus 15. Prestige connection with Li Ziki, friendly. 146 1/1000ths. Do you think I would still have a chance if I begged Sun Mo to be my teacher now? Zhangzhou prodded Qi Shengjia's arm as he asked in a low voice. I have no idea. But after this public lecture is over, you will definitely have many competitors. Qi Shengjia was smiling so widely that his eyes couldn't be seen. Zhangzhou was startled before shaking his head dispiritedly. Ding. Favorable impression points from Zhangzhou plus 10. Prestige connection with Zhangzhou. Neutral, 51 1/100ths. 4 more system notifications rang out, making Sun Mo very satisfied. Through this, he could gauge the thoughts of his students. The papaya girl and honest guy Qi Shengjia had always admired him. Li Ziki also admired him, but she was more rational. As for Zhangzhou, he was just someone who always followed the crowd. There was no need to care about him. As for his 3 other personal disciples, they remained indifferent. Sun Mo involuntarily glanced over. Xuan Yuanpo had his eyes closed as he relaxed. Next to him, Dan Yutang smiled and nodded upon seeing Sun Mo's gaze. Meanwhile, Jiang Leng was expressionless and had his head lowered. Ding. Favorable impression points from Jiang Leng +5. Prestige connection with Jiang Leng, neutral, 41/100ths. Sun Mo was speechless. Although the amount wasn't high, it was better than nothing. In the lecture theater, the sounds of commotion rang out, growing louder and louder. Both the students and the teachers were discussing Sun Mo's ancient dragon capturing hands. This was especially so for those students who already knew that there were problems with their energy channels. All of them already planned to consult Sun Mo after the lesson ended. Vice Headmaster Zhang, how about now? Do you still want to investigate Sun Mo? Xin Huai suddenly spoke up, retaliating. HMPH. Zhang Hanfu's expression turned ashen. This Sun Mo was so lucky. It was unknown where he had learned such a powerful massage technique. How infuriating. What does that snort mean? Xin Huai shook her head as a puzzled look appeared on her face. Hee. Jin Muji did her best to hold back her laughter. So, Headmaster An also had such a naughty side to her. Zhang Hanfu pretended he didn't hear it. If it wasn't for him wanting to watch Sun Mo screwing up so he could regain some face, he would have left long ago. However, he couldn't afford to wait anymore. He cast a forceful glance at Feng Zhuan and signaled for him to act. If this continued, Sun Mo's first public lecture would end perfectly. Little Lin, I know you have always felt that Sun Mo is unworthy of me and that the circumstances are very unfair for me. This is why you always view Sun Mo with hostility. However, I hope that you will not continue looking at him with prejudice. Xin Huai lowered her voice. Try to understand him a little. Zilin fell silent. Sun Mo's brilliance made her unable to rebut or find any excuses. He had just used a pair of hands to help that student achieve a breakthrough. Wasn't this matter a little too exaggerated?